All right. Good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and call to order the December 20th meeting of the Metro Transit District. We get a statement debrief.
Morning, everyone. Just want to do the city brief today. In the event of an emergency where we need to evacuate the building, the main evacuation door is right directly behind the board, right behind you. Go through that door and just straight out to the parking lot, the top layer parking lot. And our evacuation zone that we meet is right by the street, on the entrance parking lot right by the street. If for some reason that area is blocked off, then the secondary evacuation route is right through the double doors right behind me, downstairs to the parking lot downstairs. Again, do not use the elevator in the event of evacuation situation. And then we would meet directly next to the street, again, in the parking lot area. We also have, in the event of medical emergency, we have AEDs that are available in the lobby downstairs. And just want to get a hands of anyone who is CPR certified in the room. 3 or 4 people, good. And so they can help in the event of a medical emergency, as well as the AED system. The AED system, all you need to do is turn the system on, and the AED will give you instructions on how to use it. It will just basically tell you, put it on, and go through the full steps as you go through the process with the person who hopefully would be down and out. In the event of an earthquake situation, you would need to go underneath the desks. For those of you who are not near any desks, it's better to be close to walls. Anyone near the windows, get away from the windows in that situation. Once the earthquake has stopped and everything is settled, then at that point, attempt, if you can, evacuate from the building. Again, the main evacuation route, as I said, directly behind you through the doors. And if that area is blocked off, again, right behind me, go down the stairs, and the evacuation zone is in the parking lot downstairs. Any questions?
Same goes for tornadoes too.
Yeah, tornado, same, actually, good question. Same thing goes with tornadoes. In particular, again, near the people near the windows, get away from the windows. You want to get into an interior part of the building. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I have a roll call, please? Director Brown? Here. Director Downey? Here. Director Dutra? Director Colin Johnson? Present. Director Koenig?
Here.
Director Lynn? Here. Director McPherson?
Here.
Director Newsom?
Present.
Director Pagler?
Here.
Director Kiros Carter is absent. Director Rotkin?
Here.
Ex officio Director Northcutt is absent, and ex officio Director Riskin. And we have quorum. Thank you. We'll go on to announcements. Today's meeting is being broadcast by Community Television of Santa Cruz County, and Language Line Services is providing Spanish interpretation services, which will be available during oral communication and for any other agenda item for which these services are needed. Our Language Line Services will be provided by Maria Avila, who's providing Spanish interpretation services today. Is Maria here? We are hoping that she will arrive. Okay, thank you. We'll move now to Board of Directors comments. Are there any comments from the directors today? No? We're all ready for our holiday break? Nothing to say? Okay. Moving right along. We'll go to oral and written communication to the Board of Directors. It looked like we got 3 written communications that are included in the packet. Otherwise, now is the time to address the board on any item that is not on today's agenda. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you. This is Brian Peoples from Trail Now. We're an organization that's been around for over a decade, thousands of local supporters. We've included a letter that we sent to our candidate, Kim DeSerpa, who won the election. Main thing is we want to really emphasize there's 3 corridors, Highway 1, SoCal, and the Coastal Corridor. All of them need to be open. A single highway lane has a capacity of 2,000 people an hour, okay? When the corridor from Davenport, Watsonville opened up as a continuous trail, it's estimated to have 2,000 people an hour using it. Think about that. Think about the value of how much value that's going to add. And that's based on the current segment 7A usage right? So think about that and how valuable that's going to be for our community. Right now, we're frustrated because it's only 1 mile of the trail has been built in a decade. And we look at segment 7B, which is Bay to Wharf Road. We're very frustrated with that. That basically $26 million a mile to build that. That's like 3 times the cost of widening Highway 1 for a 12-foot wide trail. It's years late. It's actually a very dangerous trail. It's narrow. It's going to be very dangerous with those poles up. It's been an environmental disaster. Clear cutting trees, building this huge retaining wall that's going to be a maintenance nightmare. They don't even have budget for that. Even when they built this, they intended to have a train. Well, their requirements for the setback requirements don't even meet the requirements for a passenger train. They're 4 feet short.
Just a reminder that there is an item on the zero emission passenger rail and trail, item 13 on today's agenda.
Oh, I better not mention that then. Okay, so we want to ask that the community start listening to the experts. Guy Preston, the Capitola trestle has not been used in decades. There are a number of years. It can't be used for a train. So the train advocates continue to advocate saying that it's impossible to rail bank. Well, the experts have actually said, no, that is the process to preserve the right of way. We can't afford to spend $26 million a mile for a 12-foot wide trail. We can't afford to let it sit unused. And we can't afford to realize that a train would violate the coastal act for beach access and sea level rising. If you were building a house and you wanted to build this big house and you said, I'm going to build this big house on this little lot. Well, you wouldn't design a big house because it doesn't meet the requirement. The experts, you all have to realize we can't waste more money on designing systems that aren't going to pass the Coastal Commission. So again, I appreciate your time. We're hopeful that Metro members support that kind of motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Great.
Good morning. Eduardo Montesino. First I want to thank former CEO Michael Tree for giving opportunity to help Metro achieve its goals of hiring bus drivers. And also I want to thank, Dennis Zaragoza that's here in the room for recommending me to for this temporary position. I want to share that very few people believe it could be done. I think one. But then after it got started, the goal also kept changing. First it was 60 drivers. Then it kept, the target kept moving. The goal kept, veering more up. Management then decided, we need paratransit drivers. We need help with mechanics. Overall in total, we processed 500 applicants. In a short period of time. If you guys remember, we started last October, so a year and a few months. We've hired about 180 people. Some have stayed, some have gone. But the goal is almost achieved. But it was not just me; it was everyone working together. Working for the same goal, from HR to operations to the mechanics, everybody helped in one way or the other, not realizing that they were going towards the same goal. I know, I really want to thank a few people because they worked their hard into this, my cohorts in HR and in Sophia probably drove them nuts. I got emails from, my HR director saying, don't come on the weekends, But, we almost got here. And like I said, I probably drove them nuts. They're probably relieved that I'm no longer going to be doing it. But in operations, I mean, one of my key partners was, I could do better mention Araceli Campos, another one that helped me a lot. Training, interviews, so there's a lot of people that were involved. Supervisors that helped out during training processes, interviews, drivers that help, in the interview process, and also line instructions, and because it takes everyone working together to achieve the goals that we have achieved in a very short time frame. I really want to thank and Adrian Jimenez that helped me a lot in interviews, Gustavo Magaña that also helped me a lot in interviews. But like I said, the training staff all help, and we're still in the process of finishing up the last classes. I internally also took on the mechanics and the VSW, a class of just mechanics and VSW, because they're different priorities, because we also need bus being fixes, we need bus being cleaned and fueled. So like I said, everyone in the organization put some efforts, small or big, safety, did that, and in the hemisphere we also have kept going, providing service, refresher training for regular drivers. We kept everything going, moving forward. So I just want to report that out. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Hi, welcome.
Morning, everyone. My name is Veronica Velasquez, and I am an internal organizer with SEIU 521, and I am now the representative for our members in this chapter. In the last two board meetings, SEIU 521 has raised concerns about the salary study done for management. This report was not made public prior to or during the meeting, preventing us from raising questions at the actual meeting. We would like to go on the record as saying that the union and the public would like a chance to raise questions and discuss the report regarding the methodology used for the salary study and potential impacts to the budget. We ask the board to support our request to meet with management and have our questions answered. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? Good morning, welcome.
Good morning, Chair Brown, board members. I'm here to share my concerns about the abrupt cancellation of the winter service changes and what this decision means for staff and our riders. For the last 3 months, staff has been planning winter service improvements that were set to start December 19th. That included improved Highway 17 transfer times, increased service on routes 1, 2, 18, 17, and 19, and expanded service for rural routes 40 and 41. I was directly involved in advocating for and creating many of these schedules, and I was really excited about how these changes would impact our riders countywide. However, 2 weeks before service changes were set to start, management realized that we didn't have enough working vehicles to maintain current service nor to increase any service. So instead, they canceled the winter bid entirely and decided to extend the fall bid with the suspension of routes 16 and 90X. This decision came as a shock to staff internally and externally, and new schedules had already been printed to the public and posted on our website, and operators had already completed bidding weeks prior. As some of you may know, a memo goes out 55 days before service is supposed to start and notifies management of all departments and about the planned service changes and the quantity, and yet nobody raised a flag early on about the feasibility of implementing these changes considering our vehicle availability issues. Even if we had our new Orange County buses in service, would we have realistically been able to have enough vehicles to maintain current service, reinstate routes 16 and 90X, and bring back and expand the service as we were planning? We've been struggling with vehicle availability issues as soon as the full bid started dropping Route 16 trips as early as September. And I want to be clear, I'm flexible and I'm willing to scale back services. I completely understand that. And I think the public would understand that too. But we need to be transparent about the underlying issues that are causing the service not being reliable. The reality is we overpromised and we underdelivered. And we should have focused on resource neutral improvements. And instead, we committed to doing something we couldn't do and notified the public, took it back, and then acted like the public didn't see it. We haven't issued any sort of statement explaining why that happened. And everything was canceled and our riders and staff were left in the dark. So I asked that Metro issue a public statement taking accountability for this. I think it might be hard to hear, but being honest about our challenges builds trust and respect for our riders. And riders deserve to know why service has been so inconsistent this fall. 90 trips were canceled in just one day this month, compared to 77 total for all of fiscal year 24. And pass bys on UTSC routes are up 80% from FY 24. And as staff, I think we deserve clear communication. This effort, the time and effort put into creating this bid could have been redirected to realistic improvements if the feasibility of these changes had been accurately assessed earlier. I feel like my contribution and those of my colleagues weren't valued in this process, and that needs to change moving forward. I'm honestly really grateful to be working here and grateful for this opportunity to have a direct impact on service changes. I haven't come to the board since I started working here because everyone has been so receptive to my ideas. So this really upset me, and I think we can learn from it and move forward.
Morning, welcome.
Good morning, Director Brown and board members. My name's Elizabeth. I live in the Seabright neighborhood. Take the bus all over in Curfree, so it's really the only option I have to get around our county and also the Bay Area, Monterey County, where my family lives. So I'm just here this morning to share some recent experiences I've had riding the bus and possible actions you all can take to end community concerns and perceptions. So I'd like to preface this by saying again that I'm Curfree and really this is my only option to get around Santa Cruz County. And I know that's the same case too for a lot of other community members, especially people who live in Watsonville and people too who like go to Salinas for work. So the recent experience that stuck with me is that I'd like to highlight that the service on the 90X was cut before any announcements were formally made. And I came across this when I tried to take the 90X back home from work in Watsonville on December 10th. And then the bus that I was planning on taking, the 4:10 p.m. bus never showed up. So I went in to ask customer service what was going on or just for a possible explanation. But they were only able to state that service was canceled for the foreseeable future. And at least in my mind, it's important to communicate high impact changes such as these to the public in a transparent manner and really ahead of time. For myself on this particular day, I had to be back in Santa Cruz at a specific time. I was really relying on that 90X connection to be able to make my appointment. And so those plans were really derailed due to the 90X unexpectedly not being in service. And on another note, I'd like to urge the Metro Board to make slight adjustments to the Highway 17 Express schedule as it currently stands. Any connections to Caltrain are just really infeasible. That also makes it pretty difficult for myself since I have to go up to the Bay Area for work about once to twice every week. So just some small changes like that would really make the customer experience better would be great. As Lola said, it is disappointing to have the new headways be released to the public and those service changes effectively be reneged on. I picked up the headways from the bus when it first came out and was really excited about everything that was in there. So yeah, I would also just urge the board to make a public statement addressing the situation. I think that would go a long way with the community and just, yeah, it's really about being transparent. And I want Santa Cruz County to have a world-class transit system. And I know that you guys want that as well. So we should all be in this together. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, we're gonna come back to public comment. I just want to make a quick note that our interpreter is here. Maria, are you here? Yes. Do you want to just let people know that you're available for, and then we'll come right back to you, sir. My apologies.
Good morning, my name is Maria from Language Line. I'm here for any Spanish interpretation services. Mi nombre es María, estoy aquí para cualquier servicio de intérprete en español.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome.
My name is Kevin Norton. I'm a public health professional. Thank you for all the hard work that you do towards creating a world-class transit system. Between November 15th and this week, I sent 3 emails to the board and Don Pergo, and I'm sure this email ended up in your packet last month. It was about a streetcar. that would link the downtown to the new zero emission rail service. Why that would be a good idea. I didn't receive a response to my 3 emails. I was disappointed because I have a need for communication, for one thing, for one need. I'm not blaming anyone. I've missed emails too. We are, according to this book, The Shallows, what the internet is doing to our brains. We are bombarded by emails, notifications, and text messages every day. This book talks about how our minds are shaped by the technologies we use. So in the old days, if we wanted to send a message, we had to find some stationery, write or type out a message, find an envelope and a stamp, and walk to the mailbox or the post office. Nowadays, the barriers to sending and receiving messages are almost non-existent, so we are bombarded by messages every day. Result. This email about the streetcar was important to me, however. And maybe the idea isn't practical, but I still want to have a conversation about it. So I hope that I can speak to someone at the Metro staff in the new year. If you get this book, make sure you get the new one with the yellow cover, because it's a new edition that has more chapters about how smartphones and the internet are negatively affecting our mental health and concentration, especially for young people. It is frightening. There's also Soul in Focus, which is another good book. And I share this with you because this book has made me happier and smarter than I used to. So thank you for all of your hard work that you do. I hope that I can talk to Metro staff in the new year about that streetcar email.
Thank you.
Is there some way that he can be full here, might talk to you, or release them? And that, I assume it usually happens, but I just want to make sure it's gonna happen.
That someone follows up.
Yeah.
Hello, good morning, Director Brown and the rest of the board members. I want to say that Metro is making it hard for me to believe as a fellow bus rider that they have the best interest of us in their hearts. There was recently the cancellation of the headways changes with no apparent effort to make this issue public or address the issue at all. I would expect that Metro knows that as a public service, the best way to ensure the service is serving the community is by communicating with its actual bus riders. Abruptly ending a service change that has had a big public push online and in person makes it hard to miss when all of the hype just comes to nothing. And so I hope that the board makes sure that they are actually talking to people out there who are using the service, because it's the best way to get feedback. And I think that I feel like there's an accountability issue to who the board is serving and who the Metro ridership is serving as well. I would hope that we make the best decisions on how to further improve Metro as an entire public service so that people can feel confident in riding the buses around town and also just feeling proud about their neighborhood and their city. As people who, as a student coming from LA, I've found a really nice home in Santa Cruz. And every time I can see changes that make it better, to make it more attractive to everyone and to like really prove that Santa Cruz isn't just like a regular old city. It's just to have the best of the best by being able to serve the community and having people who are actively trying to participate within it. And so I would strongly suggest that the Metro take that into account and hope to see that. Thank you.
Further comment?
I have a question. One second. Okay.
Hi, Metro Board of Directors. I'm Thomas Dillo, and I'm a UCF student who relies heavily on Metro to commute to classes in the general Bay Area. With the fall service change, I was promised a route that would get me to class quickly and on time in Route 16. But when I waited, the 16 never came. The new headways promised like a good service in 16. But that's not happening. And along with this improvement to the 16, there was the 17 Express. In the current fall bid, the 17 Express consistently ran 5 minutes late, causing me to miss my Caltrain connection. The winter service bid added a much extension to their run times, which would help prevent this issue. I was sprint for the train, but it pulled out as I arrived at the station. If I were in a wheelchair or otherwise movement impaired, I would have no hope of making my connection. The winter service change promised improvements, but these changes aren't coming as something of a larger issue at Metro, the state of the fleet. When I was running a bus in June, the bus broke down and then a supervisor picked me up and informed me that half the fleet was out of service for mechanical issues, or roughly half. Additionally, I've heard numerous operators share these complaints about the state of the fleet, where they got put on buses they didn't want to drive as much. For example, single door buses. Lived experience informs this, as I regularly see single door buses on the busy routes like the UCSC routes. These buses are often extremely slow during busy times, often getting caught up to or passed by previous buses later on the block or later in the service day. So when I see them, I often don't take them at all because I know there's no point. If I just wait, I'll get there at the same time. I'm not alone in making these observations as well. Just last night, I boarded the 17 Express, where Metro's management decisions were being ridiculed. The operator had complaints about the service chain suddenly changing 30 days before the bid was started. And the passengers were complaining about single door buses being put on routes and general maintenance issues. They felt the same issues with the single door buses as I do. And as riders, we could see these issues present in Metro's fleet management months before Metro's fleet management apparently seemingly did, as somehow we got this far into the bid before it was caught. Finally, I'd just like to add that I don't feel this is the fault of any individual maintenance staff. I think they do all they can with what they're given, but I ultimately feel that the failure lies with management in this case. Thank you.
Next question. Of the gentleman that just spoke, where did you obtain a copy of the headways?
It was on the Metro website. I have this is the print copy. I have a selection of the pages that are relevant to me. It was publicly available and I downloaded a copy because I was excited.
Thank you. Hi, welcome.
Hi. So Metro posted the winter schedule. You can see here. Headways booked online 2 weeks ago. And then it suddenly disappeared. I recently found out that the winter bid was canceled entirely because, as we heard, there aren't enough buses. It's an unprecedented failure of Metro's management that it's even possible for this to happen. MST doesn't do this. VTA doesn't either. Even AC Transit is going through their winter state service change normally. Why can Metro's peer agencies figure this out and Metro can't? Of course, these issues have broader implications for Metro. Metro is cutting the 90X, a route that connects disadvantaged communities to the rest of the county without any prior notice. This is a violation of the Title VI civil rights of the riders who depend on that route. And the TIRSA grant that's funding the Imagine Metro specifically mentioned the service and cited how much it would improve access for these disadvantaged communities. Metro is not delivering what they promised in the TIRSA grant application. How can Metro be taken seriously in future grant opportunities when there's a precedent that the service will be mismanaged rather than improved? Metro also did this without any public communication or transparency. The winter headways went up on the website and then just disappeared. We were told nothing. Metro staff seemed to be more concerned with posting photos of jellyfish on the buses than with posting useful customer information. Metro didn't post bus stop notices in advance, and the ones that were posted yesterday are illegible. Metro destination signs have been incorrect for months, full of typos, overlapping texts, the misspelling of route names. Metro still has bus stop signs that show routes that were discontinued over a year ago. Metro fails to communicate detours and reroutes, such as when Laurel Street is closed for construction or when buses aren't entering the UCSC campus. Metro's peer systems publish GTFS real-time alerts for situations like this. Metro does not. This lack of public communication and this level of mismanagement with the winter bid is unprecedented. Metro's peer agencies, such as MST, for example, don't have these issues. What's going on? So, on behalf of the public and bus riders across the county, I'm asking the board for two things. First of all, Metro's management should release a public apology, explain what happened with the winter bid, why it happened, and what Metro will do to resolve this. San Francisco Muni in 2018 issued a statement like this when they were dropping service regularly. This is the very least Metro can do. Additionally, I would agree if the board of directors could launch some form of independent investigation into Metro's management staff and what circumstances have led to such colossal failure with the winter bid, and what needs to occur so that this can never happen again. I want to thank the board for listening and also all of the staff who worked very hard on putting together the service changes before it was canceled. And of course, I want to thank all the bus operators and maintenance staff who worked so hard. I appreciate them. This is not their fault. Thank you.
Any additional public comment today? Okay, seeing no, we'll close public comment, bring it back to the board. Yes.
Chair, I have a question, and this is maybe a question for our general counsel. Given that this item is not on the agenda, what are our options to discuss the concerns that were just brought before us?
So the board can ask the staff to provide a brief response to work and staff to bring an item back. Place an item on a future agenda, but substantive discussion about this item today is not agendized or approved.
Okay, and I can do that now,
In terms of speaking to the general,
and then bring back an agenda then, yeah.
I don't know if there's an agenda item to bring back on this.
Go ahead, yes.
I think our CEO probably going to say something about this in his comments. So I think we can talk about it onto that. I think because he's going to bring it up, talk about it. It doesn't allow us to spend appropriate new money or something because there wasn't an house. We can sort of talk about the problem and like do in terms of immediately responding to requests for more transparency. So
I think to some degree,
that's when I would do it. I would do it after as part of his presentation.
right, in a report context, some discussion, again, kind of brief, limited discussions really about.
Yeah, I think we can't appropriate new money or something.
Thank you. All right, with that, we are going to move on to item 7, labor organization communications. Morning.
Good morning. It's been a few meetings since a smart union rep is up here talking with y'all. I'm Nate Abrego, for those who don't know me. Sitting the base rep while Jay Finfidia, our current general chair, finishes his leave. I just wanted to speak a little briefly on the oral communications. As a driver's point of view, I think we share a lot of. I appreciate all the community members who came up to speak on the changes of the winter bid and how they feel they went down. As drivers, we have a lot of similar feelings on how much we've been heard. Our voices have been heard and taken into account moving forward. I do want to say though that we recently been in conversations with Corey, and we're working together to find solutions to make sure that when drivers bring up in our services planning review committee meetings and all these concerns where these things do get discussed about bus availability and route changes and how feasible that really is for the drivers and the community, that our recommendations are taken with full weight that they're due. There's decades of institutional knowledge here at the Metro, drivers with 40 years of experience, 25 years of studio over here, celebrating today. I'm confident that going forward with Corey, we can find some solutions to help prevent this from happening again. On a lighter note, I do want to I do want to say that we're very excited at Smart to be bringing back the senior luncheon that we used to do for many decades. I've gotten to trying to figure out when Smart back then UTU started putting this on, and I've gotten a few different dates, so I'm just gonna say a long time ago. And it went on for many years, and we're very excited. We have a tentative date for June 29th. We're in the early planning stages of it all, but we're very excited. A lot of longtime drivers, and I'm sure community members, remember it fondly. I know as a Syracuse driver, I always enjoyed those days. It was always very exciting getting all the community members over to the luncheon and just enjoying a great day. I just wanted to thank the Metro management for working with us in these early stages to really make it a joint project and provide the best experience and a thank you and appreciation to the seniors in our community who contributed so much, and we just want to continue serving them.
Thank you. Yes, communication.
Only skipped the
I'm gonna go back to the online. Yeah, with apologies, I forgot to check for our online public comments. So we will go now. It looks like we have Theo Kell with his hand raised online. Can you hear us, Theo?
Thank you. My name is Theo Kell. I live in the city of Santa Cruz and I commute regularly to Aptos and Watsonville. I want to congratulate Metro for having working email again. For anyone who doesn't know, all Metro emails to the public using MailChimp have been classified as spam by Gmail, Yahoo, and most other major mail providers since February 2022. This was because of new security requirements relating to email spam, which Metro IT knowingly decided not to follow for the last 3 years. But now the issue has been corrected and Metro's communications can reach the public again. However, I want to say that I'm frustrated that Metro didn't use its new email capabilities to let its constituents know that the winter service plan was being abruptly canceled and that the 90X was suspended. That's a route that people depend on, and not everybody is carefully monitoring the headways or the schedule changes in Google Maps. There was so much great communication and transparency during the Reimagine Metro project, and I thought it was really helpful to be informed about upcoming changes and improvements and to be part of that process. And it's disappointing to me to see that that isn't continuing now. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe we also have Ryan Meckel on the line. Yes. Ryan, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you. Apologies for any background noise. I am on Metro bus right now. I just want to agree with what a lot of the previous commenters said about the frustrations with the schedule changes. Like I said, I'm on an 18 right now going to work, and in front of me there are no headways on this bus. Just a few days ago, there were headways on this bus, and I picked up the copy to look at the upcoming schedule changes, only to find out, not from Metro, that those are no longer happening. I was looking forward to the signal continuing and having that fast connection to work, and having a fast connection to Watsonville as well. But it's just really frustrating that Metro seems to not be able to communicate the changes that it's been working really hard to the public that actually use the services. I think there needs to be some real kind of introspection from Metro's management about why this happened and what they're going to do to prevent this from happening again. And frankly, communication needed to have gone out about these last minute changes weeks ago, if not months ago, because it seems like people knew that this was going to happen and that it was just a failure of communication within the organization that prevented them from being communicated out to the public at this point. I'd also like to just kind of express my frustration with the challenges in hearing about dropped routes. For example, I'm riding to campus every day. I ride the same bus at the same time. So I'm not a rider that really uses apps like Google Maps or Transit because I know the schedule and I know when my bus is going to be. But if a bus is dropped, I have no way of knowing that. Just a week ago, I was at Laurel and Center and waiting for either the 18 or the 16 to show up. And for about 30 to 40 minutes, there were no buses when there should have been about 3 in that time frame. There were about 40 other riders also at that stop, none of whom had any clue what was going on. There was no updates in Google Maps. There were no updates in transit. I had to call the service desk to ask what was going on. And they had to look for about 5 to 10 minutes to figure out what the heck was happening, only to tell me that they had dropped those buses. And actually, they had thought that those 18s had run, despite them not have shown up, or didn't show up at all. So what the heck is going on at Metro? I really hope you can take everybody's comments today seriously and take this criticism to move forward with a better Metro. I really want Metro to do better. I love Metro. I use it to get around everywhere in the city. And thank you for taking the time. Please do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Vincent Sue?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Vincent. I'm a current student at UC Santa Cruz, and I would like to express the frustrations that many people have been expressing, including the cancellation of a bunch of routes like the 90X and as well as the 16. And I think and what gets me the most is the lack of communication between the management and the public, since most people won't have a clue of like what's going on. So there were days where I had to like wait a really long time for the 18. I usually, to go to school, I usually take the 18. Sometimes I'd have to wait like well over half an hour, even though the 18 was running every 15 minutes. So I had no clue what was going on. And I really wish that there was a better sense of communication between the management and the public, like informing, oh, a bus is broken down, or this bus was canceled for this reason. So I really wish that there was a much better communication between just between management and the public, like via SMS or something, or like using any other form of social media to communicate what's happening. The next thing I wanted to address is buses being wrapped. I totally understand that you're wrapping buses to promote the one ride at a time campaign, and also to promote ridership. But at the same time, I feel like with the buses being wrapped, people can't really enjoy like the views that they whenever they're riding the bus. If you ride the 19 down from campus, you get some really nice views, but unfortunately with wrapped buses, they really do obstruct that. So I'm just really wishing that there is a better way you can promote the one ride at a time campaign without the need to fully wrap the buses. But other than that, I thank you for what you guys do, and hopefully we can improve later on. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any additional online public comments? Ian? Ian, can you hear us?
Hi, this is Brian Peoples with Trail Now. You unmuted me. Are you asking me to speak?
No, we're not. You've already spoken. I think we're looking for Ian.
Oh, no, this is a different item. This isn't oral, is it?
Yes, we returned to oral communications because
Oh, my bad.
some had already
Okay.
spoken in the room, and now we're looking for those online. We're just checking to see if there's any additional online comments. He needs to unmute. Ian? Yeah. Ian, we need you to unmute if you can hear us. So, do you know who that is?
Brian Peoples who just spoke.
Yeah, but it's. Okay. All right. All right, with that, I think we will officially close public comment. Now we will come back. We're on now item 8, additional documentation to support existing agenda items. And as mentioned earlier, we have the 3 emails that were sent to board members on the 19th and will be added to the agenda packet. Okay. We will go now to our consent agenda. All items appearing on the consent agenda are recommended actions, which will be considered routine and acted upon in one motion. Is anyone on the board interested in pulling an item from consent? Seeing none, is there, oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
I don't know if I necessarily want to ask to pull an item, but I had some questions about the 9.6, some of the data and the KPIs,
Okay,
which may relate to some of what we've heard today. So
you want to pull it? Okay, we will pull 9.6 from consent and we'll make that the first item on our regular agenda. Okay. With that, is there any public comment on our consent agenda? Yes.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't gonna say anything.
We hear you, Vincent. We're gonna start with those in the room. Are they allowed to mute themselves or do we have to mute them? Okay. Go ahead.
Hi, I was hoping someone would pull the item about the calendar for the next year because all of the next meetings are still at the admin offices. And I think that we need to continue having meetings throughout the county. This isn't necessarily like the most transit accessible location, and I think many of you probably would be more willing to take transit to the meetings if it was closer to your jurisdiction. Like, yeah, we have all the other meetings are pretty transit accessible, and I was disappointed that we're keeping it's still in the same location. It seems it's because staff take time out of staff's day, but that's 1 month that's 1 day of the month that staff would have to attend to a meeting and monitor Zoom facilities at another location. And I feel like that's the sacrifice worth making for accessibility to the public. I mean, most of us bike here because it's not, the Ford isn't necessarily the most accessible. It comes hourly and it's not reliable to get back. We don't know when the meeting's gonna end. So having reliable service to our meetings and diversifying the meeting locations would go a long way in ensuring accountability, communicating these changes. Yeah.
Thank you. Any further public comment in the room on our consent agenda? Seeing none, do we have any comment online on our consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board.
I'll pull 9.10.
You'll pull 9.10, okay, so we'll pull 9.10. We'll bring that after 9.6 of our regular agenda, so it'll be 9.6, then 9.10, and then we'll move on to item 10. Yes,
move approval of the remainder of the consent agenda.
okay, we have a motion and a second for the consent agenda without 9.6 and 9.10. Any other comments? Okay, we have no one joining us online, so we can do no board members joining us online, so we can do a voice vote. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carries unanimously. So that brings us now to the items that were pulled, and we will start with item 9.6. Accept and file the year-to-date key performance indicators, KPI report for Q1 as of September 30th, 2024. Director Riskin, do you have comments or questions about this item?
I do. I had some questions.
Okay, go ahead.
At first, I apologize for being late.
Oh, no problem. It's
There were a few of the KPIs that sort of jumped out that I wanted to ask about. One of them, it's number 13 or slug. It's page 13. It's the year-to-date passengers per service hours by route. It looks to me like the 16 has more than doubled the next highest route. I believe that what's in the headway is that is slated to be suspended for winter. So I wanted to make sure that I was understanding that chart correctly. That's what that data indicates, that it is essentially the highest ridership line by more than double. And that is the one that's slated for suspension. So that was my first. Do you want me to just ask all the questions?
Let's do one at a time to see if we can get responses to each one. Does staff have information available regarding this particular question?
Good morning, Christina Mihайлова, Finance Deputy Director. So those are ridership indicators coming from our planning department. And so every month, essentially what we do, and for the whole quarter, we pull information ridership of each route. So this happens to be the productive route, number 16. If you have any questions regarding the type of information we have from planning, we can investigate further. So we can come back with more detailed information about this route specifically, as well as if there are any indications that it will be discontinued and why.
So I apologize, our planning, my officer had a family situation who was unable to attend today. So I can get that information for you.
But it's, I guess I just wanted to confirm I was reading this right, that by passengers per service hour, the 16 is the highest performing route in the district, and again, more than double in the next closest.
Yeah, that is
route.
correct. Yeah, we also telecall different routes, and UCC routes are usually very productive. And this is something that is happening when we used to see first during the pandemic. Now, again, those are our most productive hours. That productivity decreased slightly because we increased service hours significantly, especially for UCC. So even though it's a little lower this quarter, it's still very high. But you're already correct, that is correct. UCC is our output.
So I don't know, per council's advice, if can't speak to the question of why that route would be canceled, if it's by far the highest productivity route, but that would be question if this KPI is accurate.
Is this part of the same question?
Yes, it's a follow-up to Ed's question. These numbers are also for the previous quarter.
It is. So this is.
That's July through September. And I dabble in the data and I won't speak for staff at all, but in October and November, the Route 16 as well as other UC routes began all-door boarding. And so the actual ridership numbers went quite high. And Route 16 continues to be a very high-performing bus for the number of miles and the trips that it makes. That's what I'm continuing to see. Different means of collecting information. It's the APC instead of the driver actually having only the folks through the front door.
So I guess I'll leave that as an open question, why district will be suspending what seems to be by far the most used route.
Maybe during our CEO report or follow up if necessary, we can follow up on that. Okay.
Another one is this is number 18, mean miles between chargeable road calls. It's been a pretty precipitous drop from nearly 19,000 miles. 16 last year, down to 13,000 now. And I'm wondering if you understand why that's happening, if that's relating to why perhaps the service changes needed to get pulled back. Vehicle reliability is down.
Well, we have Morgan here with us. That unfortunately relates to the fact that we're having a lot of mechanical issues. She can speak to that a little bit.
As you guys are well aware, our fleet is very old. So consequently, a lot of the vehicles, we cannot get the parts for. Our mechanics try to manufacture parts. We actually send the parts out to be fixed because we can't get new parts. Hence the purchase of 53 vehicles. And then we also change the way that we calculate our miles between roll calls to be kind of updating that. But yeah, the fleet reliability is down because our fleet is older. You know, mechanics and our service folks do the best they can to maintain the fleet we have.
When are you expecting the new buses to be here?
So the new buses are starting to come in. We have 3 of them on site right now. But waiting for fueling infrastructure to be put in place, and they still have to go through testing. So it'll still be probably 4 or 5 months before we can get those in the service.
So not even in time for the spring bid.
Probably not.
The next one is number 22, and this may be related. Canceled trips. And I do have a question if I'm reading this right. Most of the other charts compare first quarter this year to first quarter previous years. One, it looks like it might be full year data, which shows that last year there were a total of 77 canceled trips. And this year, year to date already, there are 157. So I guess the first question is it correct that 77 was a full year number and 157 is a year to date number? Second question, I guess regardless, is why would that be increasing by double if it's quarter to quarter comparison or by eightfold if it were?
So to address the first question, yes, it is correct. So fiscal 24, if we had only 77. This year, year to date, we almost doubled that. I mean, significantly higher number. One reason there is the increase in service. Primarily that happened in fiscal 25. We're faced with the first we had issues with our bus operators. Now the issues more mechanical problems that Mark just reported with the buses, but that number is correct. I anticipate, again, this is just a few 3 months fiscal year. I anticipate that number will increase significantly when we present Q2, which will be October, November, December.
So we've had
So we will.
twice as many canceled trips in the first 3 months of this fiscal year than we had in the entire of last fiscal year.
That's correct.
Every time we add a mile, we add a service mile. So if we add an abundance amount of mileage to our service, that means that a bus has to be preventive maintenance sooner rather than later. Historically, we don't run that many miles. So by adding as many miles as we did in the last year, it increased our preventive maintenance service. Made us behind because we're, as you see, I'm asking you for 3 more mechanics. So we're kind of chasing our tail here. I think we'll be able to catch up, but again, we have an older fleet. So yes, it has doubled. We prioritize the trips we cancel. We try and make sure that we don't leave anybody stranded. That's a priority for the dispatches.
And one additional point here, I would never say there's a target in this KPI. Normally we have targets. That's not the target. There will be 0, obviously, but we do present an average. So that average is for the last 3 years, and the average is really high. It's 275. So clearly we are under that. The goal is to keep it. I don't know how successful we'll be this year, but
0 is our goal.
Yeah.
But if you've had more than 150 in a quarter, if you straight line, that would be 600.
If we keep it at that pace, yes, we'll definitely be.
So we have a double, but we're on a pace to go 8 times more than last year.
That is correct.
And then again, this may also relate in terms of pass ups. 23 says there were a total of 122 pass ups for fixed route. And the following slide 24 says that for UCSC alone, there were 138. So I don't understand how there could be more for UCSC than for all of fixed route. So one question is, I must be misreading this somehow. But the second is that even with the bigger buses, which is increased capacity, I think you said earlier by 60%, why would we have almost twice as many pass ups as last year?
We have a lot of students out here. So, I mean, though we got the bigger buses and more vehicles, there are more students. The operators don't pass the students arbitrarily. So they get as many students. That's why and I implemented rear door boarding so that we could get more students on the bus, which should reflect in the next quarter, right? We should make up for some of that pass up in the next quarter or so. And then also the fact that we know the students are free. So that's why we did the rear door boarding as well.
Could I follow up? Is there a higher incidence of the Arctic buses not operating?
Correct.
Much of what's down right now. So the larger capacity that we count on isn't there.
The majority here was because of full bus capacity, so we've had no capacity for a traditional passenger. That is 85% of the passengers were due to that, which is well.
Yeah, so we got the buses from San Diego, but they weren't in the best of shape. So again, we are, fixing what we can when we can. Making adjustments where we can.
That was my last question. It may be helpful for the board to get some sort of fleet condition update if that's what's driving a lot of this issue. And it's great to hear there's new buses on the way, hopefully more mechanics. But I know from my experience, getting some of those older buses that you can't get parts for and are hard to service, retired is probably the best solution. So for the board and the public to have some view of what the fleet plan is and the retirement schedule for the older vehicles might be.
Can we ask for that on the January?
You can absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, so if there's any further questions on this 9.6? Seeing none, do we have any public comment on 9.6? Seeing none in the room, are there any online? Nope, okay, then we'll bring it back to the board. For a motion and a vote on this particular item.
We accept this information forward.
That's correct.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carries unanimously. We'll go now to the second item that was pulled from consent, which is 9.10. Consideration of resolution to establish 2025 Board of Directors meeting schedule. Deborah, you pulled this item. I know there was questions about the location of our meeting.
Yeah, I just pulled it for the sake of conversation. I know with the prior CEO, I've had conversations about the changing of locations and there were concerns about when we change them. It's actually more confusing for the public, but we're now hearing otherwise from some members of the public, or at least one person who spoke up. So I'm just wondering if our CEO could speak to where we're at with this, with now deciding to have it in one location. What considerations were given to that?
I'll be honest with you, I haven't given it much thought at all. So it is something that we could definitely explore on there. I mean, I know we have everything set up here for the board meeting. We have public television in here that broadcasts the meeting. There's lots of reasons why we do it here. Lack of a good public transit in here. That's something that we could probably resolve. I think we could overcome so that we can continue to have it here. But we could also explore other options. We just take us a while to figure out, where can we hold those meetings that would accommodate and have all of the facilities and technology that we need in place. So
I just wanted to make a suggestion that might consider for next year, picking one meeting and having it someplace more accessible, and see what the result is. At one point, we moved a bunch of meetings, we were meeting in Watsonville because we wanted to be more accessible. We had fewer people attend, including our board members from Watsonville, attending the meeting in Watsonville than were coming here. So the great idea in the abstract, but in reality, it wasn't working. But maybe instead of doing the whole schedule and having 5 meetings somewhere else, one.
The board could approve the meeting schedule, and during the year we could change the location of those meetings.
And we might try, meeting once if they're county board all the city councils and the board supervisors all have TV and potential stuff. I mean, the major reason for meeting here, we were told when we made that shift back, because we used to meet in some other places, was that how much staff time gets lost with, the entire staff having to show up and report, different kinds of items and so forth. And it's just really, productivity was really, it cost us quite a bit to meet somewhere else. And so it's a trade-off. So let's find out with one meeting, just as an experiment that's well advertised, does it bring more people to the public out? Get the Santa Cruz City Council or the County Board of Supervisors or something like that. See what happens.
Good idea. Yes,
So I'm going to vote against this today, and the reason is equity. I just think that whether or not people do not show up to a meeting where you place it, if it's a meeting in South County, it doesn't matter. I think you need to offer opportunity. And if you offer opportunity, then, it's up to the people in that jurisdiction or the area to come or not. When I first joined this board, a long time ago. It was rotating and I never saw any hiccup. I saw never any problems with it. I think that, eventually, it turned into, just permanently being here. And, I personally think it needs to go back. I mean, our faces need to be throughout this county. It cannot be just stuck here, at the metro offices or in, Santa Cruz proper. And so that's how I feel about it. I'm one voice. I always get outvoted here. So I want to let it know I'm the voice in South County. You are too, but I clearly am standing up for a community that would like to at least have the opportunity to show up working class people who ride the bus a lot. So not that I count on me, getting enough votes here, but I just want to be heard. Sorry.
Director Atkins.
Well, certainly, we know the Watsonville City Council chambers is well equipped. I mean, it's going to be one of the nicest facilities in the county. I'm not willing to support every third meeting being in Watsonville. So March, June, and October of next year.
I think, we could just do one, like we could go back to the one per. I'm okay with that. I think we should rotate throughout the county, give everybody an opportunity. That's how I see it, but thank you.
Director Atkins and then Director Kalantari Johnson.
My proposal is not unconnected to that possibility in the future. I'm just suggesting rather than bam, let's just go to 3 new places. Let's try one, see what happens and if it works out well. That would be an argument for expanding that along the lines of James proposing. I'm not against that. So, let's move into it slowly.
Well, can we just pull this and send it back to you guys to redo and then bring it back to us?
So hold on, we have comments from Director Kalantari Johnson and then we'll address that question. I think we do need to approve it at least so that we know when the meeting will be in January. But we'll go to Director Kalantari Johnson.
Thank you. I think there is support for equity in location here. Well, there is for me anyway. I won't speak for other board members, but I agree that I think we should move ahead with this agenda item with approving the schedule and ask staff to come back with a plan for what that would look like to rotate the schedule with the first meeting in January being here, so we all know where to be, and then meetings after that. Guess I'm ready to make a motion when we're done with comments, but that would be my motion is to approve the 2025 schedule and ask staff to come back with a plan with a frame of equity in mind of how we can I can't speak this morning, rotating locations forward.
I agree with everything you said. I think that it's important for us to place ourselves throughout the county for these meetings. I know it's an inconvenience to staff, and I appreciate that, but we represent the whole county. And I think it's also important for us to publicize when these meetings are at these other locations to encourage people to participate. And I think if you stick with it, then more people will attend from these locations that aren't here.
Director Koenig.
So in the interest of providing ample notice to people where these meetings are going to be, what if we made February, January meeting? Yes, here's some new board members potentially. Makes sense for it to be here. February at the Santa Cruz City Council chambers, in March at the Watsonville City Council chambers. Everything else we can keep here, but ultimately change sometime next year.
Do we need to confirm with those cities that the chambers are available on our meeting?
That was my comment too, is we need to lock in because often they're booked for other things.
Yeah.
We need to coordinate with the agencies, but still, I agree with just not maybe designate until we make sure what facilities are available.
Can we do an approval of the meeting calendar and then only approval of the location for January? And then in January, have a vote on moving throughout the county?
Certainly good. I think the question is going to be whether or not we're going to be able to bring forward or we're ready with all the coordinating that's going to be required for the various locations at that date. There might be a little bit more flexibility to, I think, similar to the motion that was proposed, to adopt the calendar as it is with direction to staff to return with a plan to implement the rotation. But they just might, for flexibility's sake, it might give a little bit more. The calendar is accepted with that direction.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the comments. I agree that moving throughout the county would be an appropriate and wise move for us. We do it at RTC. You know, all of our city council chambers have the same setup that we have here to make it work. And I'll tell you, at RTC, they always find us. There's never like a problem. So I think I'm not quite as concerned that folks won't know where to go. So I appreciate that this was pulled and discussed and Director Deacon.
I really appreciate the support for this because it's something that I think that those of us that were on this before had seen how it worked and then it went away. And I think like Mike said that we were thinking it was coming back and it never did. So I'm glad that this conversation happened. And how many months do you think you need to do this? Like 2 months? I mean, Corey? I mean, it's a phone call to the city.
Yeah, I mean, that should be plenty of time.
So by March, we could have a revised calendar for the rest of the year.
I would say by February.
February? Or wait, we're in December. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and any city that says we can't do it that month, there's
We could find another
month or we'll be.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
There's gonna be 11 months to choose from.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't necessarily need to rotate one at, all through the year, but just mixing it up for the sake of there being
I mean, I
opportunity.
miss going to Scotts Valley.
All right, so I'll move approval of the meeting schedule, with direction of staff to return to us at the February meeting with options for alternate meeting locations.
I'll second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Before we vote, is there any public comment in the room on this item?
Okay. Hi. Thank you so much, Director Kalantari Johnson, for pulling the item. I wanted to second your comments, Vice Downey, about having it better publicized meetings. Something that MSC does is they post the board calendars and the locations inside the buses. So when you're riding the bus, you can see where, and it has it in English and Spanish. And I also think we need to post on social media, like we're citing that nobody came to those meetings or we had lower attendance at these other meetings, but did we really put in all the effort to do public outreach to get people there? And like, maybe could we even mention that the council meetings for those jurisdictions, which ones are gonna be, or which metro meetings will be held at those chambers. But I think we could definitely do better on the marketing front, and thank you so much for bringing your attention to this item.
Public comment. Hi.
Again, I just wanted to thank you all for pulling this item, especially Councilmember Kalantari Johnson and Councilmember Dutra too. Really appreciate your comments. I think it's well worth the effort for people. I mean, I live in Santa Cruz, work in Watsonville, and try to make an active effort to get out to South County, Scotts Valley, other parts of the county that we don't typically go to. And I would really love alignment for the four to work well with getting to the meetings. I live in Seabright, so I had to walk to the Riverfront Center in the morning because the 3B doesn't line up well to be able to transfer to the 4. I think the 3B gets to downtown at 8:35 and the 4 leaves at 8:30. And then the 4 gets here at 8:36. So I'm just waiting here until 9 as well. Isn't the best. So some alignment on that front would be great. But thank you guys for pulling this and just reconsidering. It's much appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Kalantari Johnson and Director Dutra for pulling this item as well. I really love the point that you made about equity, Director Dutra, because it's a really important thing for us to have and operate, especially now in 2025 with much research on equity issues and especially public transportation issues. And so I'm really glad to hear that the board is trying to push forward on that. And one thing too is with the winter bid cancellation, the 90X improvements would also make it, the cancellation of the 90X improvements would also make it harder for people to come over and listen or participate within the board meetings. So it's good to think about how we can switch things up and make it easier for people to access. One thing on the board meetings is that I would also have to reiterate what people are saying about how to better publicize board meetings. I think right now there would be a lot more people being able to participate if
it was just more apparent, like how to find the board meeting, where the location was, and to have that either like posted on the buses, at the stops, made in a public announcement through the website or on the Instagram page. And I feel like that would better gain participation with the constituents. And I believe that transparency and just having that accountability gets a further step taken by being able to better publicize these meetings. Thank you.
Additional comments in the room? Seeing none, any comments online?
We have a few. Olga is online.
Alda? Dr. Director Luca? So. Alta, can you hear us? Okay, we'll come back.
Is it?
Oh,
Yay, thank you. I too wanted to express gratitude. One of the reasons I stopped over at Cabrillo this morning was because we had an incident on campus that I had to come and check out. And by the time I headed back to the Santa Cruz area for the metro, it would have taken me another 45 minutes. I travel from Watsonville. It already takes me 48 minutes to get to Cabrillo because of traffic and whatever happens on the 17th. So I'm grateful for the opportunity for the meetings to rotate again. I do remember a time where we got to go visit different sites. On that, I would like to suggest not a May meeting in Watsonville. It's graduation season and a lot of traffic happening in this side of campus. And so that would be a personal preference, would be not for May.
thank you. Brian Peoples?
Yeah, hi, this is Brian Peoples with Trail Now. Absolutely agree with this idea. It's a phenomenal idea. It's actually surprising that it hasn't been existing. And just kind of a nice message to Corey. I know you're new here. I don't know about how many months, but you know, traditionally Santa Cruz County has really been more focused on Santa Cruz, North County, and us South County people have been shortchanged. And so we're hopeful that this continues to move in the way of supporting South County and the needs there. So appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any additional online comments?
One copy. Brian still has the agenda. Anything else?
Hello. Thank you again for the opportunity to comment. I think this is a really great idea, and thank you, Director Kalantari Johnson, for pulling it, and Director Dutra for your support of it. I think it'd be a great idea to have these meetings rotate throughout the county so that they're more accessible for more folks to appear in person and provide feedback on Metro services. I think you would have heard more people speaking out if these meetings were better publicized as well. I think putting signage on the Metro routes, especially those on campus, kind of directing people to the board of directors meetings as an opportunity to provide feedback on services and service changes is really important and something that isn't really done. I think a lot of people, harkening back to oral communications, just don't know how to voice their frustrations, because I often hear at bus stops, complaints about Metro and suggestions to make it better, but people don't really know how to pursue those or provide that feedback to folks like you. So really support hosting these board meetings at stops and on buses, and make it clear that it's an opportunity for folks to provide feedback on Metro services. I would also like to add one additional thing. If it's possible to host even one meeting up on the UCSC campus, I think that would be really important. That's where most of the ridership for Metro ends up or is. And there are a lot of folks there that have strong opinions about Metro services. I would also like to encourage the members to ride Metro to these meetings. I think being able to have firsthand experience about the service that you're guiding here is really important. And I think you will find that you may have feedback of your own if you're attempting to ride Metro, even on a semi-regular basis. So thank you again. I think this is a great idea, and I hope to see the meetings rotate.
Thank you. Any further online comments?
Brian still has his hand up. Brian, did you have addition?
He's already done what he said. Yeah, he already commented.
And then, I think that was Brian that just.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's.
Okay. And now that we have Director Northcutt online, even though she's ex officio, do we now need to go to a roll call vote? She doesn't. She wouldn't vote anyway, so it doesn't matter. Okay, we'll continue to.
I have a question.
Yes.
Many people brought up the publicity issue. I'm just curious, how do we publicize the meetings? Seems like there was a lot of concern around it.
Right now, they're posted on our website, which is really awful. So our website is being updated. So beginning of next year, we'll have a new website, which will make it easier. But I don't know if we do any social media.
Transit centers.
Our transit centers we post at all, but yeah, I mean, we could do, especially if we're going to be moving locations, we'll do a better job of
Yeah, I think we should maybe really start. Baby boomers love Facebook. And the young people love, Instagram. So I think that if we can really tackle a lot of areas, if we just kind of address them. I was gonna say TikTok.
It's going away. Director Rocket.
Just so expectations don't get too high. I don't think it has in place. Worth looking into. Classrooms all do, but they're all being used. So that's gonna be a difficult test to meet. Otherwise, it'd be a great idea to meet. So we're gonna go up. What we don't want to do is have a meeting, first half of the meeting was spent trying to make the. That's not a good idea.
Cabrillo also be considered.
We can look at it, but as I say, I think it's gonna be, that's an issue.
Well, it's sort of mid-county.
Yeah.
Just wondering if additional formal direction is needed around the social media piece, or you guys have that? Yeah, we're good. Okay.
If there's no further comments or questions from the board, we will entertain a motion. Oh, wait, we already have a motion in a second. Did you get the motion in a second?
Yeah, it was Director Koenig and then Director Collins.
Yes. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carries unanimously. Thank you. We will go now to our regular agenda, and we are on item 10, presentation of employee longevity awards for November and December. We have 10 years, Luis Abundez Camacho, who's custodial supervisor. If you're here and I say your name, go ahead and stand up so we can recognize you. 25 years for Jaime Hernandez, mechanic 3. 25 years for Mark Krovets, bus operator, and 25 years for Uriel Mendoza, bus operator. All right. Congratulations.
Are we allowed to say something?
Absolutely. I hope you will.
Oh, thank you.
Making a certificate of appreciation.
It's an honor. VIP's here and I'm here.
Are you okay for a picture?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
Thank you. Yes, we'd love to hear from you.
Yes. First, is it okay if we talk about us? She's laughing because one time I'm on lane number 4 and Highway 17. She is riding on lane number 1. She got off. She needs to make a connection with the Highway 17. And I'm on lane number 4. And then when I saw her, no dog, no cane, I said, I need to do something about it. I ran to lane number 1 and I stopped in front of her and I said to her, just follow my alarm. Well, just follow my alarm. And I started doing, and then she starts laughing. So I'm laughing too. I cannot put the alarm down. And now she's following my laughing. And I keep telling her, please, ma'am, lady, stop, or I won't be able, I'll be laughing across. And the bus operator, how he sent venting, appreciated. Then he said, oh, thank you, thank you. But it would take her a long time because no cane, no dog. So I want to say something. When I was 7 years old, I heard a conversation about people saying, if you love your work, you're not working. Coming here, I realized that I have in my 25 years, 1 month, 10 days, 10 hours and 27 minutes plus seconds. I have never worked. But in the next 25 years, I'm going to try to work maybe 1 day or two just to feel what it feels to work. So,
Thank you so much. 25 years of service. Congratulations. We are so grateful for you. Any comments from the board? Seeing none, any public comments on this item?
I just wanted to make a quick note that I meant to say during the labor communications, so I'm talking about the smart luncheon. Woody here, as you can see, very well suited to be the master of ceremonies. Was the master of ceremonies the last two that we held, and we'll probably do the next one.
Thank you.
Teaching.
Hi, welcome.
I just really wanted to thank Udia. He's a great bus operator, drives a 3B, 3A, where we regularly run into one another. And it's just like, I've seen him talk with some people who like, it's their first time taking the bus, or maybe they haven't taken it in a while. And it's just so great with directions, telling them where they need to get off, just like everything goes above and beyond. So I'm happy you're getting recognized.
thank you. This is the first time she sees my face.
I didn't anticipate speaking on this item, but as soon as I saw Udiel, I was like, I know that operator. Because I commuted on Route 19 for about 8 months, and Udiel was my driver for most of my morning routes and remembered so many of our riders' names and was just so friendly. And I just appreciate you every time I see you. I'm grateful to be on your buses. And I'm just grateful for our operators who are really communicative with other riders, because it's just like you see the difference when operators aren't communicative, and it just makes the ride that much better. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
He's a fantastic DJ.
Any online comments?
There are none.
Okay, seeing none, we will go now to item 11, retiree resolutions of appreciation for Esmeralda Arias, customer service representative, Eddie Benson, maintenance manager, and Francisco Calderon, bus operator. Are any of those folks with us today?
No.
No. Doesn't look like it, but we will give them a round of applause for their. Yeah, do you have a question? Or?
I'm gonna move the resolution.
Okay, let's wait. We'll come back from public comment. Any public comment on this item? Seeing none in the room, any online? Yeah, okay, go for it.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. We will go now to item 12, our Metro Advisory Committee semi-annual oral update.
That's easy.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you. It's up to your right. Lizzie. All right, Lizzie. Down. Dog. There we go.
No, Mike.
No mic.
There's no mic.
Oh, there's no, okay, that explains why I wasn't hearing it. Good morning, thank you. I love our bus operators, I really do. Good morning, board members and staff and members of the public. I'm Veronica Elzey, currently serving as chair of the Metro Advisory Committee. First off, I would like to publicly thank the members of the committee who have given a great deal of attendance and both physical and mental and participation. It's a great committee. And if there are openings in the future, I would encourage members of the public to take a look at this committee. Our current members are Joey Martinez is the vice chair. We have James Cruz, James Von Hendy, Michael Forzano, Jessica DeWitt, and Becky Taylor. So I would like to acknowledge them to the board. During this last 6 months, we have received some public comment. Usually it's about route changes. And they have been emails in our packet, which came complete with responses from Metro staff. So we actually have seen some responses to emails that come in to Metro with questions from members of the public. Some of our committee members during oral comments also really wanted to ask for easier access to bathrooms for bus operators as they're out all day. We've had a lot of discussions about trying to make the best out of the current transit center. And in our August packet, and you guys would have seen it too in our minutes, were our letters that we wrote in May, one welcoming Corey Aldridge to Metro, and one thanking Daniel Zaragoza for his services as interim CEO. We also, over the summer, really helped advocate for some of what Metro did at the fair. And it was nice that not only did we have the vouchers to get a discount for bus riders and to have the extra service going out to the fair. So thank you for that. We were a little disappointed that the free fares that we were all anticipating in September didn't happen. We got a pretty good explanation as to why, but we were still disappointed. We were happy to see the work that Metro is doing to better align the Highway 17 service with the new electric Caltrain schedule. That's something that has been very important to a lot of passengers for many, many years. At our August meeting, we also started talking about the new future Pacific Station North, because we had a lot of questions and felt like there was very little public input about the development of this station. So our committee voted to regularly agendize this item so that we could learn more about what was going on and ask some of our questions. In September, our committee sent a letter to you, which you should have seen in your packets, thanking you for choosing Corey Aldridge as our CEO and setting things up so that he has been able to regularly attend our meetings. And we also really appreciate the fact that now staff members can attend online, so that way they get easier time to get back home. We, in October, got a final discussion of the budget, and we really appreciated all the information that we got. As part of that budget discussions, we were informed that there would be a new website coming in January. We are kind of holding our breath, hoping that this website will be accessible to everyone. The current website, we did a lot of work, some of us that were members of the public as well, to make it accessible, particularly for writers who use screen reading software if they are unable to see without it, and make sure that this website will work well for everyone. So we will continue to ask at our meetings to make sure that it's accessible. In October, we also had a much more detailed discussion about the new Pacific Station North. And a couple things stood out to us. We had a lot of discussion about wayfinding. And when some of us heard the words diagonal crosswalks, we went. So we are hoping that there's some easy consideration so that people can find things. We like the discussion about the amount of maybe signage going up on each of the lanes. We were disappointed to see how little Metro's getting out of this, because at our previous Metro station, among other things, we used to have a conference room. And we thought it was pretty funny that here you have a Metro Advisory Committee, and it's really wonderful that this committee meets in the evenings so that people who have a job during the day can actually participate on your advisory committee. But we meet here, and there's no bus service. So what has to happen for those of us who rely on the buses is that we meet at the current Metro Center, and Metro has to use a paraphrase bus to transport us here and then transport us back. And it would save on you staff if at your new Metro Center there was a conference room, and apparently there won't be. And we were really sorry to see that, that you got so little. We also continued discussing the current Metro Center, and most of the comments came on Area 3. And just because of the changes to account for Route 1 going down SoCal, that a lot of customers reported lane Area 3 being confusing because you didn't really know where are the arrivals, where are the departures, and sometimes buses just kind of had to come where they could. So we expect to be discussing that one. As we get into 2025, we're going to continue discussing all of the transit centers, including what's going to be happening out in Watsonville. We've had a lot of questions about that come to the committee. A lot of people come wanting to know more about what's going on with Highway 1 and Metro and kind of some of the overpasses and other things that bus on shoulder. So in 2025, I will continue serving as chair for my second year, and Joey Martinez will continue as vice chair. Our meeting schedule, since we only meet quarterly, our meeting schedule is February 19th, April 16th, August 20th, and October 15th. And we will continue to provide you with the semi-annual updates, and we look forward to working closely with you to help make this a better transit system. Do you have any questions of us?
Thank you so much. Any questions?
I just want to thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Right, right.
I was going out the door.
Do you
I
need
know.
me?
Yeah, we just said once if she needs
Let's do it. Let's do it like, wait.
like it.
That was your order.
Okay, no, you just follow my,
We were doing that.
oh, you're gonna use the elevator?
No. Oh.
I think I only here.
All right, are there any public comments on item 13? Seeing none in the room, are there any online? Okay, with that, we will move to item, oh, I'm sorry, that was item 12. No comments on item 12. We move to item 13, which is an update provided by Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission, SCCRTC, on zero emission passenger rail and trail project. Welcome, Ms. Christensen.
Thank you, Chair Brown, and thank you, directors, for having us this morning. I'm Sarah Christensen. I'm the executive director. I was recently appointed back in September, and trying to get this clicker to work. So I am a familiar face, but new to the role. We are working on backfilling some positions, and hence why I'm here today to fill in for staff who wasn't able to be here. So you got me today. So today we're here to present the zero emission passenger rail and trail project milestone number 3 update. Today is December 20th. It's the last day to provide input on milestone 3 content. So yeah, let's just get to it. One thing I would like to ask Mark McLaren with HDR, I believe is on Zoom. Can you speak up, Mark, if you are able to?
I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning. Great. You can answer all the technical questions if there are any. So just a project overview. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the project. The RTC owns the 32-mile Santa Cruz Branch rail line and are pursuing high-capacity passenger rail service on the transit corridor, which is at 22 miles of the branch line between Pabro on the other side of the river in North Monterey County all the way to Santa Cruz. In addition to that, we have the remaining segments of Coastal Rail Trail projects that are referred to as segments 13 through 20 that are included in the project. We have several other segments that are already under development that are being advanced ahead of the rest of them, but now we have all 32 miles of Coastal Rail Trail under development current. That's an exciting piece of this project as well. Up on the screen, we have the milestones for what we are calling the Zero Emission Passenger Rail and Trail Concept Development. So back in 2022, our commission directed staff to proceed with developing a concept for passenger rail. And, obviously it's a item that gets a lot of attention. There's a lot of concerns and considerations and support for a lot of different things that are going on the rail line. But our intention is really to answer a lot of the questions that the community and the commission has about the project. So what that means is developing conceptual alignments. We've done a significant amount of planning in the past, but now we're looking at actual engineering. We're looking at conditions of bridges, vehicle types in more detail and what the implications of those things are. And station locations, station features, ridership approach. So that's what's really part of milestone 3 that we're talking about today. So you see the star, we are here. And we have quite a bit of information that is going to be coming out early 2025 through probably about middle of 2025 as we close out this project concept development process. So for the community engagement that we've been doing, we are meeting with all of the stakeholders that are affected by, the project or around, who have interest in the project, local jurisdictions, metro staff, other stakeholders in the community. We've been meeting with them and providing information and getting information from them. We also concurrently are having community information sessions to educate the community because this is a very large project with a lot of consideration. So we have had community information sessions on funding and service, ridership modeling approach, as well as just last week we had one on Monday we had one on noise and quiet zones considerations. And all of these have been recorded and posted to the project website. The virtual open house is still open until close of business today at zeprt.com, and that is where you will find a significant amount of content about the project, including all of the things that I mentioned earlier. We had a couple of in-person workshops, and we had a public hearing at our last commission meeting. So this is kind of an outline of all the engagement activities we've been having, and the content that we're getting feedback on is, again, ridership, alignment, updates, quiet zones, station locations, funding, and bridge infrastructure. And just to focus a little bit in, we've gotten a lot of feedback on alignments for the rail and the trail. And here's a map that just shows the focus areas of what we're kind of digging into. We've got the Beach Street area in Santa Cruz, the Jade Street Park area, and the Cabrillo area near the vicinity of Capitola. We've got Sumner Avenue area, Rio Del Mar, and then segment 18 and 17 that are in and connecting to Watsonville. So those are kind of focus areas that we've been working through. This is a screenshot of what our virtual open house looks like, and you could find all the content there. Potential station locations. We have received a lot of interest in additional stations that would be, considered as part of the ridership modeling process. Originally, we started with a list of stations that were developed as part of a previous planning study, the Transit Corridor Alternatives Analysis. So we're receiving feedback and we're considering additional locations. But obviously, we have to balance all of the considerations like ridership travel times and see if these are going to pencil out. So we're in the process of doing that right now. We also are requesting feedback on station design and amenities. Originally, we were looking at, I think, between 12 and 14 stations. So we don't know how many, but obviously this is an important consideration for accessibility and other factors, safety and all of that. Next steps, we're receiving a lot of feedback right now on milestone 3. So we have to review and compile that information and then report back to the commission. We are continuing to refine the alignments. We are continuing to do the ridership modeling. And then in milestone 4, we're going to do another round of community engagement. That's going to have more meat, right? So the finalization of this project concept with cost estimates, and then recommendations for the next steps for implementation for the project. And that concludes my presentation. Here for any questions you have, and I have Mark McLaren from HDR to help me out.
All right, we'll start this way and move our way around. So Director Dutra.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. Have you guys done any, I have couple questions. The first one is, have you done any thing in trying to get funding for the overall project, and how's that going? How much money have you guys received for implementation?
Sure. We are partially funded through environmental. So we have, I think 12 to 14 million that we would need to secure in order to complete the EIR process. So we're working very hard on trying to fill that funding gap. Unfortunately, the funding picture has changed a little bit since we started this project, and there are less opportunities currently for environmental, funding that can be used for environmental. There's many more opportunities for capital, so the construction grants. There's many more of those opportunities, but there's very few to fund environmental. So we're our team is really on top of it with grants, and we're going after everything right now.
I guess even comes to completion.
Right. Well,
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
it's okay. Again, I mean, the funding picture changes constantly. Usually with, the federal authorization, we have about one more year of that, and then there's going to be a new authorization under the, future administration next year. So we can expect some changes there. However, that's a 4-year, term, and the pendulum could swing again, right? So, in terms of funding for just overall funding, locally, we don't have enough resources to build this project on our own. So we are going to need the support of the state and the federal government. And from a statewide perspective, just starting there, our corridor is included in the state rail network, which is good because the federal government is giving the state some, funding to invest into building out that state rail plan. And we are within one of the corridors of, there's 5 corridors in the state and we're in one of them. So that's promising. That's a really good opportunity. The timing might not work out right. We won't get the money right when the concept report's done to keep going. We might have to wait a little bit, but that's really the today update on the funding. It's an evolving issue.
The governor cut, he had to make huge cuts because of, overspending. Did that affect us at all or?
It did not. Luckily, there were some cuts made, but I think you're referring to the SB 125 funds that Metro and RTC both got a little piece. Well, we got a tiny piece, you guys got a big piece, but that was preserved, luckily. So it wasn't affected.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thanks for the update.
Director Kalantari Johnson and then Director Rockets.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation and congratulations on your position. 2 questions. One is with my city council district representative Pat, and the other one maybe a bigger picture. So my district 3 in the city of Santa Cruz abuts the Beach Street area. And I hear from businesses all the time that it's a very impacted area, especially in the summer, as you can imagine. So with this significant change in use that's being proposed, how is the RTC thinking about mitigating some of those impacts? Mainly, one of the things that I hear about is concerns about access for police, fire, ambulance. So that's part 1, and I'll ask the second part. The city of Santa Cruz has just passed a housing element, and the HCD has approved it. And we have the downtown expansion plan as an area where we're going to build high density housing. We've also identified other areas along corridors, and I think that's the case throughout the county. How is the RTC thinking about or exploring aligning the rail stops along these high density housing projects that are planned for the next 5 to 10 years?
Right.
2-part question.
I will start with the easy one.
Okay. Are either one of them easy?
The RTC staff has been working really closely with all of the local jurisdictions, with all of the planning that they've been doing, like with the housing element for City of Santa Cruz. So we have received a lot of information that we're incorporating into our ridership modeling process. But we're going to need the support of every local jurisdiction that this facility crosses through, because in order to have really ridership numbers that are competitive when you're talking about grants and going after grants, we're going to need to cobble all of our, housing developments around stations. And we don't have any authority over the local jurisdictions in terms of how the local jurisdictions plan their, the housing element, basically. So we are working very closely with staff, and we're trying to get support and getting everybody aligned for this project. And because it's not a project that we could do in a box, we're going to need support from Metro. We're going to need support from every local jurisdiction in order to make this come to fruition. So that's the easy question. The difficult question, you identified the Beach Street area. That is one of the most challenging areas that we have encountered for this project. And it's reflected in our open house materials where there are multiple alignments that we're looking at. There are a lot of cooks in the kitchen in the Beach Street area. There's obviously it's heavily populated with tourism in the summertime. There's the city of Santa Cruz has concern, they're obviously a huge stakeholder, as the owner of Beach Street, and parking considerations and local roadway network considerations. And then, coastal commission, just if it's not complicated enough, add them, regulatory agency to the mix. And, we have to balance all of these things and thread the needle and find a solution that's going to work for the project and hopefully satisfy, maybe not 100%, but try to satisfy as many of our major stakeholders as possible. But it is that's the most challenging area.
And I might add to the stakeholders there, some of our lowest income community members that live in the beach flats will be really impacted. So I think we've got a lot of problem solving to do, it sounds like. And then my colleague, Councilmember Newsom, that's his district. Thank you.
Director Watkins?
So, I get lots of calls and emails from people who think things have already been decided and haven't, or are impatient. And haven't we figured out how many people are gonna ride this thing and how much it's gonna cost, and why don't we know that yet or something? And I try and counsel them that they need to be patient because this is a complicated process. I don't want to fall into that trap, but let me ask if you can address some of the rumors that seem to be constantly being raised. One of the rumors that people raise constantly is this thing's not going to go to the west side of Santa Cruz. Has the decision been made that this is not going to the west side of Santa Cruz? Could you clarify if that's, or is that, I mean, that might be one of the options, but that's different than saying we decided to not, it's going to stop at the boardwalk.
Right. Yeah. So no decisions have been made. The project hasn't been, approved in any form. We are, the project team, looking at options because with options comes flexibility because, when projects get delivered, there's sometimes you encounter risks and you need to manage those risks in a way that, makes the project successful. Right. And, we are looking at an option to, the end of the line for Santa Cruz, and maybe Mark can dive in a little deeper after I explain, but we are looking at the west side extension as a future potential option if the ridership currently doesn't pencil out, right? So if the ridership doesn't really justify the additional costs and other considerations, go all the way out to, west side, there's quite a bit of development that's happening in the city of Santa Cruz, and the shift of development south towards Depot Station. It looks really attractive from a modeling standpoint, conceptually. But Mark, if you want to add anything that I missed there for the options that we're looking at for the west side or Depot for the end of the line.
No, sir. I think you explained that very well. I think I'd just expand a little bit because to the point of the question, there are a lot of moving pieces that become a part of a ridership forecast. So it's the land use and the conversation about where new housing, particularly affordable or higher density housing, is going. It has a lot to do with the travel time. So the travel time gets affected by how many stations are on the alignment, how many intersections does it cross, what are the environs that it's passing through in terms of how fast a speed train can travel. All of those factors affect that number. So as each piece of that project gets a little bit more definition to it, it comes together to be a part of that puzzle that'll help us with that estimate. When we look at the end of the line, or the west end of Santa Cruz in particular, there were questions and conversation that took place beginning in the very early public engagement as a part of this process about people asking on the trade-offs between those two locations, going to West Santa Cruz in the area of a station at Natural Bridges, or the location of the historic Depot Park in downtown. There are pros and cons to both of those. And the modeling exercise is some of this additional information is resolved and comes to bear in that conversation will help us evaluate and talk about the trade-offs between those two locations, not only in terms of the people they serve and the benefits that they provide the community, but the costs and the other factors of that consideration as well. But to Sarah's point, there has not been a decision made. We're simply asking for input on looking at the pros and cons of those two different alternatives.
Thanks. At one point, there was a consideration of the train running into downtown, in the front street, across the Chestnut, and then connecting to the existing line. Is that still an option that's one of the possibilities, or is that already been put out?
In the alternatives that we're presenting, that's not an alternative that we've been advancing. Not to say that it couldn't be, but at this point in time, we're looking at two alternatives that follow the existing railroad right-of-way to those locations, the location to the west out towards Natural Bridges, or the location of the alignment that goes into the historic Depot Park and serves that area of downtown.
Thank you. And then my final question, is it still under consideration that this train is going to connect at Park Road Junction to the train system throughout the rest of California and eventually the United States? Is that part of the planning at the current time?
Yes, that's an important point. So when we're talking about the puzzle pieces we have to put together to make this project come to fruition, a big part of the funding piece is connecting our line to the state rail network,
right?
The national network, essentially. So in order for us to be competitive, we have to demonstrate that in order to get funding. You know, we have to fall within their guidelines for their, grant fund, right? So the Conroe Station project is being developed by the Transportation Agency for Monterey County. They had a scoping meeting last month for their EIR, and they're fully funded for their EIR. And essentially, their project's a little bit ahead of our project because we need their project to be successful in order for our project to make sense from a funding standpoint. So we're definitely working with the TMC staff as well and providing any support that we can to their station project.
Thanks. Let me just make a comment now rather than make it brief. It's a complicated process and it's going to take a lot of information we're trying to gather, and people do need to be a little bit patient because you read in the newspaper, or again from the comments I get from calling me and so forth. We're talking to me at a meeting that I went to. That think it's all been decided, or they know all these answers, and it's not in fact the case. There's a lot of stuff, as you said, a lot of balls in the air, or whatever they think your metaphor is, and it's kind of critical when you look at all this information and get some. At some point there'll be a suggestion of probably some options, and come to the public, and we'll have very big public debate and discussion about it. And so I'm confident that we'll be in a position that sort of makes some very real decisions with real information. Right now, there's lots of people sort of decided they already know what this will be. And I think they're wrong because I don't think they do know what it's going to be. Was that a fair statement?
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, we're getting, as we're moving through the process, we are getting a lot of engagement from the community, and it's not just the folks that we see every meeting. There's a core group of advocates that always come to our meetings and talk about this project, but it's more than that, which is really refreshing. And it's, people are learning and they're interested and they're dedicated. So it's been, we'll see how it pans out. There's a lot, there's uncertainty, but staff is getting through the process, and be interesting to see how it all pans out.
So the amenities that I saw in your open house didn't include any bus stops or bus stations. And so I was wondering if you could explain when and how connectivity with bus transit will be incorporated. Is it part of this next steps in this concept report, or how are you going to, and when are you going to incorporate that?
Sure. I'm going to ask Mark McLaren to talk a little bit about how we are trying to integrate the Metro bus system into our concept.
Sure. Thank you, Sarah. So first of all, as a part of the broader set of materials that's online for the online open house, and that there is a lot of information about connectivity. And connectivity is not just for the transit system, but also for bicyclists and pedestrians and auto users who may be accessing the system or a station by that mode of travel. In the work that we're doing right now, as we begin ridership modeling and through the data collection, a lot of the detail that's being evaluated is looking at the preliminary station locations and how they are currently sited in terms of their proximity to transit services and the accessibility from those points, and the locations where, for example, providing a drop-off area or a transfer area for bus is necessary based on either the operation of that service or what we see as a forecast of ridership in those locations, and or is it accommodated by an adjacent bus stop that's on a local roadway that's easily accessible and a short pedestrian connection into the facility. As we get ridership numbers and we start to understand the scale and the volume of people who would be accessing in those areas, as well as looking at the adjacent uses in the areas that people would be walking from, bicycling, or taking transit to get those locations, we'll continue to expand and define how access into those station locations work. The primary part of the discussion about the amenities piece in that particular part of the open house, as well as the virtual open house, was talking about the sorts of things that would be provided for the convenience of passengers, specifically on the platform and the site. But all of those other connection opportunities to ensure that there's good first last mile accessibility to get you to the station, but also to get you from the station to your ultimate destination are a critical part of defining each of those station locations individually as we advance a concept for the project.
And how will Metro pay for these connectivity? That's the thing about as you develop these station locations and Metro needs to adjust for that. How will the funding for that be accommodated?
Well, first and foremost, it's our intent to, and as we've looked at station locations, to put them in places where they are easily accessible. And transit accessibility is a big part of that conversation. At this point in time, we've not identified any specific improvements or route changes that would be beneficial to the operation of the system. And it's our preference not to, because whenever we take a bus out of its normal travel way to go into and serve a rail station or something that is not immediately a part of its route, that's a detraction to the people who are riding the bus who aren't going to that location because it's making their trip longer. So one of our goals is to really make sure that we can have good accessibility from transit service to the station locations that we identify with minimal impact to the operation of the bus or the facilities that are necessary to accommodate the bus. If there are improvements that are necessary to improve a bus stop or to improve the travel way for a bus passenger to get from the bus stop onto the rail platform, that becomes a part of what gets defined as the station project. And those are all things that are eligible in the discussion of grant funds as we look at how we would pay for capital improvements as a part of a project like this.
Grants.
Grants, yes.
That was gonna be my answer.
Any additional questions? Yes, Director Koenig.
Great, thanks for being here today. Thank you, Director Christensen. First question is on, well, or maybe as much a statement, ridership modeling. As I said at our RTC meeting, and we'll say again, since we kind of get a second bite of that apple here, this was done on both commissions. We should really make sure that the ridership modeling for the train is taking into consideration our current ridership at Metro. I hear a lot of comments this morning about the cancellation of the 90X, and the X is a direct route from Santa Cruz to Watsonville. And I think we might hear with our director's report or CEO's report here at Metro. The reason for that is because of low ridership. I know it's the second least performing route right now. So how much communication has happened as far as working with our planning director, John Ergo, and executive staff here at Metro as far as incorporating those ridership numbers?
I'll just start off by saying we work very closely with the Metro staff, with the planning folks, as well as Corey, and we've had several stakeholder meetings, with Metro and others. They serve on our project development team as well, which we have monthly updates, PDT meetings, which has all of the PDT members, all of the local jurisdictions as well. And we are in the process of trading information, getting information from the Metro staff in order to plug in to our efforts here. And Mark, if you want to elaborate, or did I miss anything?
No, sure. That's Santa Cruz Metro. At the table and part of that conversation, and part of ridership forecasting was held back just a little bit to start data collection because of the availability of better and more recent data from Metro in terms of transit ridership. And in the ridership forecasting arena, we always go back and update and calibrate models to reflect the most recent information that is available because existing transit ridership is a critical component of the ridership that we would look at as a part of this project.
Great, glad to hear that. Next question about the station future size and locations. That's sort of the point of milestone 3, right? I guess it's fair to say we're not done with milestone 3. We're sort of at the still receiving public input, and then at some point the RTC will receive like final milestone 3 report or something where we actually see proposed size of these locations, what parcels would need to be acquired, and the proposed facilities at each stop.
Yeah, so the project concept, obviously, there's a lot there. There's the locations of the station. In terms of the actual station design, we're not at this time because of funding and the way the projects are developed, we're not going to advance the station design so much that we're going to know all of those things. But we are, conceptually, planning for types of stations sized appropriately based on what kind of input we received and other considerations. Mark, you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that's a good explanation of where we are and where we will be in developing an order of magnitude estimate based on what we understand for ridership, the locations, and the things that need to be provided at each of those stations to accommodate passengers in the service.
So this looks like we'll need, approximately 10,000 square foot station at 17th Avenue, and the approximate value of land in that area is this much, and that's what gets factored then into the cost estimate. We'll see at the end of this.
Yes, that would be the approach. And then to use an estimate that takes examples for similar construction of similar facilities in that market space, in Northern California, and draw from those experiences of other agencies about what we know about bid prices and the like to put together order of magnitudes costs for the stations.
Gotcha. So the final goal for this concept report, information on stations would be like, we're looking at a medium-sized station at 17th, and a large-sized station at Depot Park, and a small-sized station at whatever.
Well, no, I'd say rather than small, medium, and large, it'll be more in the context. So each station will most likely have the same size platform. It'll have the same amenities as it relates to what's required for ticket vending and other benches and other receptacles as a part of the station. But what might differentiate locations is that one station may be in a location where it doesn't need to provide parking, for example, but another station may have a need for a couple hundred parking spaces to accommodate what's forecast for ridership in that location. And so those are the sorts of things that would differentiate the cost between the stations. It would be a little more site specific than simply small, medium, large.
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm. In regards to the question about extending service to the west side, obviously great interest to a lot of people. Will you offer ultimately some kind of like break point in terms of what the ridership would need to be? I mean, obviously anything's possible for the right cost, right? And most of the time, transit is developed in coordination with land use, as you pointed out. So, really extending service to the west side could just be a question of how much you want to develop the west side. And ultimately, rather than saying it is or it's not feasible, it'd be helpful to know, well, what's the break point? Is it we need another 1,000 riders? We need another 5,000 riders? How much information will we have there when the commission's looking at this? Yeah.
So in the evaluation of those ends of the line, beyond just the ridership and the costs, there are a lot of other considerations, some of which will really get more further developed and evaluated as we go through the environmental process. So for example, as you move to that area into West Santa Cruz, not going downtown, but going up towards Natural Bridges, there's a neighborhood you pass through where the rail line goes through that neighborhood today. And with the trail that's in place in that location today, operating a train more frequently through that neighborhood is going to have very different impacts from what was there historically in terms of freight service. And so those are the types of evaluations that will bring forward a lot of conversation about what is beneficial to the community and how that service could be accommodated in that area. And ultimately, understanding the environmental issues and what can be mitigated, understanding the cost of the project, and looking also at the ridership. It will be a community conversation and decision ultimately as to which of those alternatives you believe is in the best interest also of the future of the city of Santa Cruz. It's not simply just a cost trade-off in terms of one versus the other.
And then finally, this question just kind of came up for me the other day. Someone was asking for a link to the materials, and I was reminded we have put a stake in the ground and called this the Zero Emission Passenger Rail Project. And I think in evaluating vehicles, it's clear that we would actually, rather than a light rail, would want something a little bit larger to accommodate ultimately maintaining freight use on the line, or is the possibility for it. So when we talk about zero emission, then are we looking at a system similar to Caltrain, but they did overhead catenary, and I know to some extent that would also be challenging on this line given some of the locations it would go through. So does that mean that we're committed to like battery operated or hydrogen trains to try to pull that off?
We are not really committing to anything right now, and the reason is because the technology is evolving. There's a new facility down in San Bernardino that I believe is hydrogen, and that's exciting. We're following that. But the technology is evolving and we don't want to lock ourselves in, but what we do want to do is set the project up for success. And by, like you mentioned, the light rail versus what we're calling a multiple unit type of train, which looks similar to light rail. It's not the big locomotive type. It's kind of in the middle between those two, light rail and locomotive. And it, we are leaning towards that vehicle type because that makes us, in terms of all the puzzle pieces fitting together, again, going back to the funding, that makes us an attractive line for future funding because we are preserving the ability to interline with the rest of the state rail network via power. Mark, do you want to add anything? You're the expert in vehicles.
No, that was very well stated, Sarah. I think one clarification to the comment about light rail. In that question, light rail is a technology that would not enable us to be a part of the proposal from the state rail plan because it does not allow us the ability to be interoperable to get to services that connect through Pajaro to other parts of the state. And that's just an important differentiation to make in that conversation.
So, but we would also need to use a newer technology, whether it's batteries or hydrogen, in order to do zero emission then.
Yes.
Yes, Director McPherson.
Yeah, first of all, Ms. Christensen, congratulations on becoming executive director, or condolences under the situation. Really, it's been great to work with you as through the years at RTC. This has been a long and complicated process, and I know people say, why do you keep put billions of dollars into this to study it? Well, you just have to do that to see if it's going to work or not. And I've been supportive of that effort. But there are some real big challenges ahead. The environmental ones and what the Coastal Commission will do about on the coastline throughout the rail line, especially in the mid-county area.
And also the trestles and how we can accommodate a train to operate there. That's been, but it's all gonna get down to money. And I want to, as one of those who put together the Measure D of 2016, that we got all of the transportation agencies of one type or another involved in it, so they all got something. I just want to caution against trying to tweak that formula. I think that's what the voters voted on, and I think for this to become a reality, it's going to require another tax measure of sorts for the rail line probably. And I know that measure that we have been talking about another measure for Metro. It's going to be really a challenge to have people approve that. I really want to again thank the RTC and Metro in the recent years, really getting together in a collaborative effort to try to address our transportation issues. It's better now, believe me, than it was 12 years ago when I first became a member of this, and 4 CEOs that are really working together. So I do appreciate that. I really appreciate your presentation, but I just want to be cautious that we protect the things that we said we would do in Measure D of 2016, and wish you the best as you move forward. It's a real challenge, and environmentally and economically.
Any further questions or comments from the board? Okay, seeing none, thank you so much for the presentation. We will go to public comments, starting with those in the room.
Ben Finca, bus operator, and I'm not sure if it was already spoken on or if it's already in consideration, but I was just curious and wanted to bring to attention the importance of interorganizational planning and coordination of schedules, not just for connections and transfers, but also for all our rail crossings. The holiday train going down by the boardwalk has recently started running, and on my Route 19 coming inbound, it's fun right now because there's very few students on campus, and so I'm running on time and I get to wave to all the kids on the train. But when school is in session, it's very normal for me to be half an hour late on some of my runs just because of the sheer amount of passengers I have and traffic. And so having to wait 5+ minutes for a rail crossing would really be a hurdle. And that's an important consideration. And then as well, I guess I wasn't here for part of the presentation, but just do we feel that RTC is going to be competing with Metro or working together? Like how do we see that interplay happening? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments in the room? Saying none, we'll go online.
Brian, can you hear us?
Yeah, hi, this is Brian Peoples with Trail Now. I want to just leverage off what Supervisor McPherson talked about, the importance of 2016 Measure D. And just to give the board and a history on that is when the first Measure D came out, it had 24% going towards rail and $14 million dedicated to the Monterey County train station. And Trail Now came out as a political action committee against Measure D. Fortunately, Zach Friend readjusted the language and only put 8% towards the rail, and the remainder of it went to Metro and the local jurisdictions. So that's very important. What Supervisor McPherson is pointing out is that the public, you have to get public support, and you're not getting public support. And what I'm concerned about is Metro getting negative publicity on this. Metro cannot afford negative publicity. We need Metro to get funding in their next election. Already we're seeing from the report nails in the coffin that a train will never exist here. The rails and ties and trestles, they reported all of them have to be replaced. The setback requirements are greater than they had expected. The train horns, the Coastal Commission is going to not allow it. And San Diego is relocating their existing train inland. So we're honestly, at the end of the day, trail now, we want the trail built now. That's really our focus. And we honestly know that there won't be a train, but we're really mostly concerned about is what kind of impression is this getting to the public? I know the public will, all that we say is they're frustrated by the agency, the transportation agencies, and Metro is labeled in that. And we as a community that need our Metro can't afford Metro to be labeled in a negative tone. We need positiveness. We need people to support Metro. And so we need Metro not to jump on the bandwagon on this. We need to be more honest with the public that this would compete with Metro, and it's not realistic, and it's just delaying what we need, which is the trail, because when the trail gets put in, it's going to be a phenomenal asset for Metro as well, because most of your customers will be benefiting from it. And I'm betting $1, I'm going to have to talk to Corey about it, is how much increase in ridership will the trail create? I'm betting that we can generate 1% there. So I'm going to reach out to you, Corey. I'm going to ask you if we could put some sort of number on that. But again, I again appreciate Sarah being the executive director. We're really supportive of that. So just want to say that again. So thanks again for your time.
Thank you. Any additional comment online? No. Okay. Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board. This was just an update, but we'll take any final questions or comments.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, with that, we will move on to item 14, consideration of resolutions of appreciation for outgoing board members. And I will turn this over to Director Kalantari Johnson.
Great, thank you. I have the honor as previous chair to present these resolutions of appreciation to two of our directors who have given so much to our community and to the Metro Board. I'm going to first present your resolution, Chair Brown, and read parts of it. Do we have the actual? That's okay. I have it in front of me. I have it in front of me. So I'm going to read parts of this to you, Chair Brown. Whereas the Santa Cruz Metropolitan Transit District was formed to provide public transportation to all of the residents of Santa Cruz County. Whereas Santa Cruz County requiring strong public representation appointed Kristen Brown as a member of the Board of Directors of the Santa Cruz Metro. And whereas Kristen Brown served as a member of the Board of Directors from January 2021 through December 2024. Bear with me. This is a long list of things that Chair Brown has contributed to. Whereas during the time that Kristen Brown served on the Board of Directors of Metro addressed impacts of COVID-19 pandemic, purchased battery electric and hydrogen electric buses and the required infrastructure, performed an on-demand microtransit pilot program, supported the pension obligation bond to refine CalPERS UAL, joined the Pajaro Regional Flood Management Agency benefit assessment for levee operations and maintenance, implemented an enterprise resource planning program, adopted a social equity and community funding policy, created the Reimagined Metro Bus Network, adopted the Youth Ride Free program, adopted the California Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting Act ordinance, and supported the redevelopment of Pacific Station and Watsonville Transit Center. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Metro does hereby commend Kristen Brown for her efforts in the advancement of public transportation service in Santa Cruz County and expresses appreciation on behalf of itself and Metro staff and all of the residents of Santa Cruz County. And I just personally want to say that working with you on the executive committee over the last couple of years has been a real pleasure. You're a thoughtful thinker. You know how to connect the dots, and you will be sorely missed on this Metro Board and your work. And I know you're not going anywhere, so our paths will cross. So think with that, we can let you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Are we going to return to
I'm gonna be.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for everything. And, if other board members would like to say a few words.
I would. I've enjoyed working with Chris on many facets through her tenure at Capitola, and just you've done an amazing job. Several things, the two challenges at Capitola that they face with the war for many other funding, and just always present, always involved, and always someone that I could call. I hear from others that if they need you, you're there. And that's been my experience. So I will miss you in that role, but yes, having been a lifelong resident, I know you're going to stay involved, and look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you.
And hopefully I'll get back on the band.
We'll
get the band performing again.
Yeah, my calendar's about to free us. So if anyone's looking to form a band.
Say thank you to her, because she's been really so deeply involved in so many issues in her own city of Capitola, but really in transit with the RTC and here. She's probably more than anything I get calls on is transportation related issues or complaints. And she has been chair of each of these agencies and really guided us very well. And it's really much appreciated for all you do, just for the city of Capitola in particular, but more broadly for the transportation issues that face Santa Cruz County. And they're challenging to say the least. And so thank you very much for everything.
As RTC chair, we even had an earthquake at Scott Falls City.
Yeah.
Changing, and then a tsunami warning. So
Never a dull moment at RTC, that's for sure.
I just add, in a world where politicians are all at each other's throats and meetings are really, fraught and difficult, and you've really done a great job with managing. So this one in the RTC as well, in a way that I think really had a good relationship among our members. And I think as chair, you played a key role in both of those situations and making that happen. So thank you so much for that. And she's one of the first people that I call and confused about, sometimes stuff is confusing. What should we do in this situation? Quick to call her and say, well, what do you think we should do? Because, where I haven't got it there since myself where to start. So I appreciate your wisdom about a lot of stuff.
Thank you. Very kind. It's been my pleasure to serve on the board here at Metro, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. I've served on many boards and commissions and committees, and Metro is one of the most effective boards that I've ever served on, and I've really enjoyed my time here. And like said, I'm you can't get rid of me that easy. I'll still be around. But my 8 years on city council has come to an end, and my now I guess 4 full years here on Metro have been just wonderful, and I've really enjoyed the experience and hope to be able to stay involved.
Thank you.
So, my first opportunity to meet with the board was with Kristen and Chevron, and Kristen came in the chair role right as CEO departed, which is never easy. And so I'm really appreciative that they were impressed enough with meeting with me that they wanted to tell the other board members about it and bring me here to Santa Cruz. So I'm deeply indebted to you for that. So thank you.
We're glad you're here.
I just wanted to let you know how much I appreciated serving with you this year on the executive board, and for your sort of comprehensive and deep knowledge of policy. I think that we've all been really well served by that. And I look forward to seeing you on your next adventures.
Thank you.
It's really been a pleasure serving with you, Kristen, in many ways on many boards. And I'd probably start crying if I didn't know that you are, in fact, going to continue here. And I'm really looking forward to, you were available last year, which is, I'm sure, was incredibly challenging. But you've handled it with such grace as the leader of this board, the RTC, and the mayor of Capitola. And hopefully you've
you're just now accustomed to such a high level of work and stress that after taking a short holiday break, you'll leverage all that experience and truly comprehensive knowledge about our community into your next endeavor.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I just want to thank you for your service and for all you've done on the board, and just thank you for an opportunity for me to learn from you. You know, I'm new to the board, and you provide a really great example of how to operate on the board. So just want to thank you and thank you accomplished, and it's been an honor to serve with you.
Thank you. Thank you again. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, I also have the honor of presenting this resolution to Director McPherson. So I will read parts of this resolution as well. And you thought Chair Brown's was long.
This is like pages.
Yeah, grab your coffee. Whereas the Santa Cruz Metro was formed to provide public transportation to all the residents of Santa Cruz County. Whereas Santa Cruz County, requiring strong public representation, appointed Bruce McPherson as a member of the Board of Directors of the Santa Cruz Metro. Whereas Bruce McPherson served as a member of the Board of Directors from February 2013 through December 2024. You heard that right. 11 years. Am I doing the math right? Whereas during the time that Bruce McPherson served on the Board of Directors, Metro has broken ground for the Judy K. Souza Operation Facility component of the Metro-based project, made renovations to the Watsonville Transit Center and Pacific Station, increased ridership, responded to a structural deficit, restructured fares, performed a comprehensive operational analysis, supported Measure D, rebranded bus stops, studied bus on shoulder and rapid bus transit, supported facilities ADA compliance, supported SB 1 to increase public transit funding in California, purchased battery electric and hydrogen electric buses and the required infrastructure, procured onboard bus security surveillance equipment, implemented an articulated bus pilot project with UCSC, established a passenger code of conduct and service suspension exclusion policies for fixed route, paratransit and transit facilities, supported the Unified Corridor Investment Study, revised board member bylaws, created a long-range bus replacement plan, addressed impacts of COVID-19 pandemic, performed an on-demand microtransit pilot program, supported the pension obligation bond to refine CalPERS UAL, joined the Power Regional Flood Management Agency benefit assessment for levee operations and maintenance, implemented an enterprise resource planning program, adopted a social equity and community funding policy, created the Reimagined Metro Bus Network, adopted the Youth Ride Free program, adopted the California Uniform Public Construction Cost Accountability Act ordinance, and supported the redevelopment of Pacific Station and Watsonville Transit Center. Phew. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of Metro does hereby commend Bruce McPherson for his efforts in the advancement of public transportation services in Santa Cruz County and expresses great appreciation on behalf of itself, the Metro staff, and all of the residents of Santa Cruz County. Thank you so much, Bruce. I will say a few words right now. You have just been so incredible. I've known you before I was an elected official. You've always cared about all pieces of the community. You've had real astuteness on the details that some of us don't see, that I sometimes don't see. I've really enjoyed some of the breakfasts we've had, and I hope that those don't have to retire along with your retirement. And I could go on, and I express my thanks at our city council meeting, but just thank you for your service to the Metro. Thank you for all you've done for the city of Santa Cruz, for the county of Santa Cruz, for the state of California. I mean, it is just such an honor to have served on this board with you. So thank you. Others, we'd like to say a few words. Thank you.
Well, Bruce and I have worked together all through his 12 years, and he was actually Secretary of State when I was campaigning and first elected at the first forum. And but I've known you all through the years, played golf. And the most challenging thing was that, as I've mentioned in our council meeting, flight path issue that but really got, I mean.
Keep it on the ground.
Yeah. I mean, some of those meetings, got volatile and you stayed and you answered and, took a lot of flack for things that were not in our control. And I just appreciated, all the years of knowing you, but working with you as well. So I know we'll still be you and Mary will still be part of my life, I know. So thank you.
Thank you for your morning. I just want to say thank you for all your service over the years. I came on 10 years ago and I feel like you are a staple, and you're passing a torch to a new generation of leadership. And that's what I'm really feeling right now. There's a couple, you're basically kind of the patriarch of, what we've had. And I see a lot of young new leaders now stepping up, and you've, laid a path for everybody. And I appreciate that. I know I'm not from Scotts Valley, but, over the last decade, I've looked up to you and your leadership, and you will be missed. So enjoy retirement. And the grandkids going to watch lacrosse. Yes.
Bruce brings just a font of wisdom, experience to this board and all the things that he does. It's just been such a pleasure working with him over the years. Bruce and I have often disagreed about kinds of things, but I can't think of anybody I had better disagreements with. They're really good discussions about what options are and thoughtful kinds of discussions, so that it's really a model for the way people disagree about. We should be able to try and work together. So just so appreciate Bruce, and it's really going to be a loss to not come to see you at board meetings. I really look forward to waiting to see what you're doing. So thank you for so many years of service here, and for your earlier career in journalism, in politics. And it's just been a real pleasure for this whole community to serve in so many important ways. Thank you.
Well, I'm pretty new to the board and haven't really spent a lot of time in here, but I always appreciated your frame of reference on some of these things, because a lot of times they're deeper and wider than some of us, especially newer members. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Hello.
Oh, hi, Alda, go ahead.
Cruz, I am so honored to know you. I first met you here at Cabrillo. I was being awarded a plaque, and you were there at the meeting for something else, and you shared something with me that I still cherish and hold dear to this day in my work and in my community advocacy and my support of students and my long-standing time here at the college. And I just really appreciate who you are as a person, as a community member, husband, all of the things, but I'm just grateful that you impress upon people in such a positive way, and you are very humble about it. And I am grateful to have known you and hope to continue our relationship for whatever it looks like.
Yes, Bruce, it's just been such a pleasure to work with you here at Metro on RTC in all the ways that we've worked together in the community. You are a treasure, honestly, to Santa Cruz County, and you will be very much missed. But I hope that our paths will continue to cross, and that I can still call you up when I've got questions and looking for guidance, because we'll need it. So thank you for all of your service.
I think Mike said it well. Corey, if attendance drops at these meetings, you'll know why. So many of the things I've learned about being an effective supervisor and board member, I've learned from you, Cruz, and really going to miss you. And yeah, glad you're not going too far. We'll be calling you up, I'm sure.
I just want to thank you for all your years of service in the community and for all that you've done for the community. And thank you for being such an excellent model for how to operate and be effective on this board and in the community. And it was an honor to serve with you and colleague.
Well, I appreciate it. Like I said the other day at the board meeting, if I knew all this was going to be said, I'd run again.
But it's, listen, this, public service is worth the effort. So it really, it is. And, such that then too, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. You listen to what people have to say, and then you say what's on your mind and respect what they have to say if it's different from your opinion. But hopefully they give a reason for their opinion. And as Mike said, we've been on opposite sides of things on occasion, but you just get it through it. Boy, do we need that today. So I just encourage all of you to, and I know that you do. It's been a real pleasure to work this board and Metro. And what it means, it is the most effective public transportation vehicle, if you use that term, that we have to get people from one place to another in Santa Cruz County. And it is today and it will be tomorrow. So we have to do, or you have to do in the future, whatever you can do to implement more opportunities for people to take public transit, because this is what's going to be the key for people who need to have that mode of transportation. We really need to concentrate on really expanding this as much as we can. It's a challenge. We all know that. But I really respect and admire each and every one of you around here, because we face some real challenges, economically, and the network that we have and how we're expanding and how we need to communicate that better, I think we will. But I've appreciated the staff that's been here and the upgrade that we've had recently here in the transportation employees. That's really impressive. And it's going to be better service for more people in San Francisco. So thank you for your kind comments. Pleasure's been mine. Thank you.
All right, do we have any public comment on this matter? Seeing none in the room, any hands raised online? Okay, then we will go on to item 15, our CEO.
We need to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right, we need to vote. So we have
Okay, approval of the resolutions.
Okay.
And we all want to say.
Whichever was the first. You guys gonna arm wrestle for who made it second, or?
Scott got it.
Larry's one.
Yeah. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. We'll go now to our CEO oral report.
Yeah, try to be quick. First, Route 16 question. You had Ed. I found out Route 16 is UCSC school term focus route, and it has the high ridership because it's scheduled. It schedules time to class periods, and it's an overlay on top of underlying service routes 18 and 19. So that's why it was canceled, because routes 18 and 19 can still meet the demands, everything that Route 16 did. Let's see here.
Ask before you move on that question.
Go ahead.
I get that. It's important. We're not abandoning a route that's going to leave, get rid of a place where people can pick up a bus. But the pass by problem that we've had stuff, obviously that's going to get exacerbated by not having 16 pick up. I mean, we now often send out extra buses when we can pick up that extra stuff, but that's going to become a much worse problem if 16 is not going to pick up that overload. Is that reasonable?
Yeah, that's I apologize. I don't have the history of what it was before Reimagine Metro. As far as level of service goes. But yeah, I mean, it is, it's, I agree. It probably will do well. So it is, as we can provide, more articulated buses on the routes, on campus, we do so, and this goes back to what I'll get into here with the service itself. So I'm going to skip over a lot of the report just because we are so short on time, but we'll talk about 2 things. First, Pack Station, there was a request for a quick update on that, and what's going on with that. Right now, we broke ground in April for it. It's estimated to take about 2 years. So right now, shooting for a mid 2026 reopening. With every construction project, you can add at least 6 months onto that. So probably the end of 26. We're working with contractor through final design and permitting on the tarmac, which will include 18 bus bays, real-time passenger information, a new customer lobby area, operator break room, and a solar canopy. The construction for the bus station and tarmac is expected to start in the spring. The residential portion of this site has almost topped out. We're working with the city of Santa Cruz to potentially extend the transit-only lanes on Front Street from the transit center to Water Street. In the meantime, we're working to improve operations and customer service experience at the temporary terminal. Facilities recently self-fabricated and installed an additional bus shelter in Area 3, and we're planning to install a fourth shelter in Area 1. We also have a project in planning to improve wayfinding. We're also exploring leasing additional space for customer and operator facilities. It's what we're doing right now, our temporary site. It's not ideal. More ideal when we have everything right there together. People can change routes real easily versus needing to go around an entire block. But we're doing the best we can with what we have right now. And now going back to the service. So we have traditionally every quarter we have done a service update. We put out new headways. So I'm going to step back a ways back. Where we're at now is started years and years ago with our deferral of bus replacement. We didn't really have a bus replacement program in place. And now we're starting to see that with this aged fleet that we have. We're starting to see more and more breakdowns, more and more, as we've added more service to Reimagine Metro, we're putting more miles on, so the frequency of PMs has increased considerably. And we've been battling this, what we call it's called a dead list, the buses that can't be in service. We've been battling this for the better part of 3 years or more. With this, we've been seeing this coming for a while. So typically, an agency of our size with our bus fleet, we should be looking at trying on average to do 5 to 10 buses a year that we should be replacing to keep our fleet at a relatively newer state, if all possible. Instead, we are replacing half of our fleet at once with brand new technology that we haven't ever done before. So fingers crossed and positive outlook that it will work well, that hydrogen will work well for us. But where we're at right now, we are in the opposite situation of many agencies. Most agencies right now have the fleet, but they don't have the operators to operate the fleet. So they're cutting service. We, because of Eduardo and good work in HR, they've done a lot of hiring, and we have the operators, but we don't have the fleet. And with the existing service that we were operating in the fall, we were finding ourselves cutting routes just because of fleet availability. And that's been that way since before I arrived. We've been facing this. So we're trying to train operators, but there's not enough buses available. It kind of came to a head here a couple weeks ago. We finally determined that either we're going to implement this next phase of service and continue to cut routes, which will already make an already confused public even more confused with trying to say we're putting out this new service and now we're immediately going to start cutting routes. And so I made the decision, and this is all on me, to pull back where we're at the last minute, that we were no longer going to put this additional service on the streets because we can't even put service that we had, at fall service out consistently at 100%. So meeting with our team, this is sort of we rise and fall together. This is not a one department's fault. It's all of us together. And we have never had a policy or a standard operating procedures in place that really help us with service changes, with a lot of things. And so that's one of the things that we are working on as a whole in a number of areas, but this is one that we'll be putting in place here very soon, is a policy and operating procedures of how service changes are done. It will need sign off by every department saying, yes, we can meet the demands of this service change, or we cannot, rather than what we have historically done, because before Reimagine Metro, service didn't really change. It was the same local service time after time. So planning would put out the service changes, and then we would go and meet those changes, which were very few at all. Reimagine Metro changed everything. Doubling of service, and therefore we've seen buses break down. We have 2 buses that are over 1 million miles. I mean, that's actually you don't see that often. So we have an aged fleet, and so we're facing this issue of trying to right size our service to put out the maximum that we can with the available fleet that we can. Things will get better. They will improve and they will get better. But we kind of got out ahead of ourselves with Reimagine Metro. We had great expectations, great hopes of putting all this service on the streets. What we failed to look at was, can we actually do that with the fleet that we had? And so right now we're seeing, and unfortunately, because it was at the last minute that we did this, we had the new headways were on the website for 24 hours and they were pulled off. The new headway hard copies were never put out to the public. So the fact that somebody online says that they had a new copy of the headways that they pull on bus is incorrect. They were never released. So the fact that we have so many people that commented today with so much information that was actually never really released to the public makes me think that we have internally, we have some people sharing information beyond what they should have been sharing. And there's a reason that we don't do that for instances like this. We're very appreciative. I am very appreciative to SMART being willing to work with us on this, because it is an inconvenience. It impacted them greatly because they went through this bidding process. And so there were a lot of plans. People were changing their schedules, and now reverting back to what we were. And that, I realize, impacts the lives of our operators. And that's one thing I don't want to happen. And I told my team, I said, this is never going to happen again. We're going to have a process in place so that we never have to go through this process with the public, with the board, within our own employees again. So for me personally, I apologize to the public that we had to do this. I apologize to the board. I apologize to our employees that we had to make these changes like this. And it's not something that a new CEO likes to do, but it's something that I had to do for the public and for our organization as a whole. And I'm happy to answer questions on that.
First of all, board's gotten explanation of this, and I think we should issue a formal public apology. I think in several forums. Here's what you just explained. Explain what happened. This was wrong. We should have been wrong on top of it. We weren't. Sorry for that. We apologize to why in public. Should do that soon, and shouldn't try and pull any punches on it. I think it's just useful to be. There's nothing better than being honest about where we went. I can't avoid whining personally about this. I'm a faculty member at the university, and my students come most of them try and get to class on time, but when students come into your class, 10, 15 minutes late, 20 minutes late for an hour, an hour and 20-minute class, it is incredibly disruptive. And the students have their own problems, but as a faculty member, you're trying to give a guest speaker, you've introduced them, you've got a discussion and you've sort of set the discussion up, and then people just start kind of streaming in. And I've asked for a show of hands for why and whatever. Sometimes students are absent or late or whatever for other reasons, but this pass by issue is very, very real. And it definitely affects the educational experience of what you suggested. So, and I've just one little class. I only have 22 students. So, how much, think about students, there's a class with 150 students and teachers trying to teach a class and people are kind of streaming in late. It's a lot of pass by going on it. Almost every day this last quarter, somebody got left behind. So that's my line for the day. My question is, we had this GPS system that we got created. It's a million dollars to get it. We're supposed to have a next bus system where someone can get on their smartphone. What's my next? What's happening with that? Why isn't that a better resource for people who want to know where's my bus? To go out there, aside from it's been you have to cancel the bus, it can help. The bus isn't, it's not coming. And of course, I try to tell my students plan better. They can know where it was, and like some of them coming from the class, that's not their fault or something. But when they're coming from downtown, they can just leave earlier and get to class on time. But what's going on with our next bus system, and why is that not just helping people know that the bus is going to be late, or explain? They don't just stand there, where's my bus? I've waited 20 minutes, like I said this morning, 20 minutes and the bus never came or something.
Over the past few months, we've been really focusing on trying to work with our trip disruption process, being able to notify the public through our app real time and through our transit app of what if there are changes, if there are cancellations on there. Even the very best real time info is still flawed. And so there's issues with real-time information processes. The goal is that if it can't find a bus scheduled in there somewhere, then it shows you what its scheduled time is. So you don't necessarily know if a bus is not there or not, unless we're able to get into the system and pull it out, and which is also becomes problematic. That's why trying to cancel trips becomes difficult. You never want that to happen. We ourselves are just uncovering and realizing that there are pieces of within Clever, the system that we spent all this money on, that there are pieces of it that we learned when we were at the State Transit Association conference, that there are things that we were not aware of. We also learned over the past few months as we've had some staff that have worked with Clever, trying to really read the manual, from end to end, trying to figure out what else can this do and how do we solve problems that exist within the system. So not an excuse, but we're working on trying to make it use all of the tools that are available to us so that we can notify the public.
Will we have a system at some point, where a person will get on their smartphone and, when is the next bus coming to this? When is the 18 coming to this stop?
You should be able to, for the most part. I would say, I'm gonna ballpark it here and say 95% of the time, and it's going to be accurate, but there's going to be that 5% where it's not going to give you the right information on there. And our goal is to get that 100%. Whether or not we get there, is.
What's a reasonable time expectation for when this would be? And would be 95%.
I'm going to ask Isaac and Michael.
So can you restate that question?
I'm wondering how long it'll take till we have a system where a person can trust that if they look on their if they're staying in the bus stop look at their smartphone to know when the next, when will the next, where is that next bus? Is it, it's a block away or it's whatever, I don't know exactly what next bus does, but that's what I imagined the system was.
So
The bus is on the way, it'll be here in 5 minutes.
Yeah, so the system does publish via multiple avenues, real-time information as to next arrival predictions. As of now, and what Corey stated was, roughly 95% of the time it is correct. It is dependent, of course, on making sure we get our schedule information into the system correctly, and that all the buses have, that all the systems on the vehicle working correctly. There are a lot of moving parts to this, and we have to ensure that we keep these things all online. The system has been online for over a year now. So we've been publishing this system to the public, or offering this system to the public.
So 95% of the time, the person who spoke and said, I stood at the bus stop and waited, there should have been three of these buses by now and none of them came. 95% of the time, that shouldn't have been the case. They should have been able to look at their smart, if they had.
Yes.
Knew how the system works.
This is where the disruption management component comes in. And that is dependent on our team to enter that information in a timely fashion to ensure that disruption data gets out. Because the system is not going to be able to automatically say, oh, there's a detour, let everybody know. That requires an intervention when it comes to a disruption.
Right, that makes sense.
And that's where, when we drop service, that's where things get dicey. So it takes a lot of diligence on our part to ensure that we enter that disruption information.
I mean, given that it's not going to be till summer, if we're lucky, that the system, the number of buses gets fixed, the issue of the new hydrogen buses coming in. We're going to be going through a period here where there's going to be pass-bys, there's going to be buses late and stuff. And so the least we could do is sort of let people know that's a different solution. It doesn't, this is kind of an outrage, but they could call an Uber. I mean, they can know the bus isn't coming for a half an hour and
what an alternative,
call a friend or like put their thumb out. I don't know what the hell they're going to do, but at least they would know something rather than just what the hell is going on? Where's my bus? That's the worst situation.
Right.
So we're working on, another piece of it that we were missing is we didn't have enough supervisors. We just don't have enough supervisors to really manage everything that we're doing. The level of service we provide here compared to what I had in Missoula is almost 4 times. And we had roughly 1.5 times the number of supervisors that I had in Missoula. And even in Missoula, we didn't feel like we had enough. So we're really trying to ramp that up so that we have supervisors that are out on the streets monitoring, but also are able to be there as we cancel trips to be able to get into the system and make those changes in real time so that we can notify the public. And that's another piece that's been missing for a while. So we're working on that as well.
I just wanted to offer that I'm one of those who does put the app on and often watch how it's performing. And I've seen exactly what Isaac is describing, where I'm looking at a Route 18 right now, headed to the university, and it's telling me it will arrive at a particular stop in 2 minutes, another stop in 3 minutes. However, there have been occasions where a road has closed. See a Route 18 coming onto campus, and then it disappeared because it couldn't go up Hager Drive, it went out Coolidge. And to anyone waiting at Science Hill to get on that bus, it wasn't in the system, it didn't appear. And I understand that's a limitation of Clever. And then it reappeared and it was right there.
Precisely. The system is designed around paths of travel. So if you deviate from those paths of travel without manual intervention, you're not going to know.
And I haven't looked closely at what of the fleet that's out there, how many is Clever working accurately for all of them? Or are there transmission issues or gaps in?
Yeah, well, as I was saying earlier, if a router goes down, any number of things, you have a bus that goes, what is referred to as a ghost bus. Just as an example. Thank you. There are a myriad of other things.
Well, all the road construction has to be having an impact too, so.
Right.
This morning, someone said, don't take Highway 9 from Boulder Creek, they're stuck for over 40 minutes. What are you doing for your bus? So.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, thank you so much for the explanation, and I'm really glad to hear that, we're moving ahead with the operating procedure on how to do this differently in the future. I do think it's important that we issue a statement, and, I would, you know, like you said, we are all in this together, so, I'd be open for a statement from CEO and the board of directors, but if that means that we can't make that decision here, then whatever is the most expedient way of making a statement.
We'll craft one today and get it out today.
Okay, great. I do have a question. So we're not able to meet these expanded routes that we had as part of Reimagine Metro because of our bus situation. When do we anticipate being able to meet what we promised to the community? And that might be a question that you don't have an answer to right now. I imagine it's contingent upon the hydrogen buses coming here. But I think that's the second part of the statement at some point that we should communicate to the community. You know, we did promise this. We still are intending, you know, that was the direction that the board gave of doing this. It's delayed by just an estimate amount of time. I think that's an important. We don't have the answer now. When we have the answer, hopefully soon, communicating that to the community is important. Thank you.
I do remember, and I mentioned when Reimagine first came to us, there were some staff members that were concerned that we couldn't meet those goals. So, looking at one of them, it warned us of that. So I know some of this isn't, you weren't CEO then, but there were concerns then that it wasn't going to be possible to do all that was included. And so just, that's not on you. We maybe should, you know, maybe we should have listened more closely and asked more questions and, you know, but sadly it's fallen on your shoulders. So anything we can do to get that word out. And as everyone else said, you know, send our apology and try to plan. But maybe a lesson to listen more closely to some of those that probably warned us a while back.
I would agree that in issuing a statement, you know, really trying to tell the story of what we are, doing everything we can to provide the best service possible. We found that unfortunately we overextended ourselves a little bit because of the age of the fleet. We have all these buses coming. They'll be, you know, we'll have the fueling infrastructure in place come whatever it is, Q2 of next year, and really expect to be able to follow through on these promises at that time when you'll start to see, you know, dozens of new buses enter the system or how we structure that. I would also really encourage us to use all channels to get the message out. I mean, it's true that we could definitely use Instagram more to communicate essential information like this, particularly with our, you know, the student population, which of course is our primary ridership base, as well as Facebook.
Okay, if there's no additional comments from the board, thank you for your report. We'll go to public comment on this item.
Yeah, Ben Finken. So I know that the majority, or not majority, but a good portion of the fleet is quite old. And I know that we're getting new buses and the plan is to retire buses, but I was just curious, given the discrepancy between operators and available buses, would it make sense to keep more buses going, so that we could expand service as we've planned to? And yeah, I guess that's it for now. Yeah.
Good. So we'll keep as many buses as we can. But part of our grant that funding process is we received some Volkswagen mitigation funding, and part of that requires that we identify the buses that are going to be replaced, and that we have to then drill through the engine block so that they can't be used again. So I mean, we're up against part of it where we just can't. But any of them that we can, we yeah.
Hello again. So I wanted to, based on the CEO or I wanted to just give some additional information about the context of the headways and service change. Because the headways went up on the website and I was anticipating it coming. A lot of people were. People tend to know when the service changes are, especially in the UCSC community. I was very excited to see the new schedule. When I first saw it, I was at San Jose Diridon waiting for the 17 Express. And I was so excited to see that Metro had finally fixed the broken Caltrain transfers that I was showing it to everyone waiting there for the 17. They were all so excited. But it was never actually on the bus. That's why we had to bring our own printout. There was never any physical copies, but it was that PDF that seemed to be fairly well known. People are aware of it. As far as the state of the fleet, this is something that just as transit riders and as general transit enthusiasts, we've been noticing for months. Last June, when we had that bus break down, the supervisor had to drive us back and told us that, half the fleet was down. It was not a huge surprise to us, but we've been seeing the single door buses substituted on the UCSC routes for a while. And that's always a sign that the right buses aren't available. And that was only getting worse and worse. Now, at the beginning of the fall, all of these drop trips on the 16 on the UCSC routes. You piece together what was going on pretty early, that there was a big fleet availability issues. And even those new Orange County, new to Metro, Orange County buses that came in. I remember someone posted on Instagram, one of them, they were testing it and broke down the in lane on campus, clogged everything up. So we could tell that there were some problems happening. And so I'm wondering if basically how can just, a bunch of transit nerds who like buses, how could we have figured this out months ago? But in Metro's internal discussions at Spark and all of those things, this was not addressed. That's my first thing, is the clarification. I also just want to talk about something that at the very beginning of the CEO report, which is about the 16's gone, the 18 and 19, they have enough capacity. They don't, especially not the 18. I used to ride the 18 every day until very recently, and pass-bys were very consistent. There's certain stops where you just can tell, I'm going to get left behind certain times a day. It's very heavy ridership route. It's also a very unreliable route. And the KPIs that we looked at earlier, they show this, and the pass-bys are up. So there's not enough capacity to UCSC. Pass-bys have always been an issue on the 18 from when it first went into service in 2021. They continue to be an issue, even with the articulated buses, even with the now 15-minute frequency from the International Metro. They've always been an issue. I feel like a little extra area of expertise on the 18 because I designed that route in 2021. I used to intern for Metro. And the purpose of the 18 is connected the Mission Street commercial corridor, which at that time was served only every 2 hours, with a regular bus that connected the high density corridors, Laurel Street and Western, where there are all those apartments, to the commercial corridor, and then provide a commuter route up to UCSC. So it was expected to be a very high route because it had all of these ridership drivers along the corridors it served. In that original plan, it was always planned for there to be something else on Laurel Street. At that time, it was the 15. Since
Who's doing when they are not around.
Yeah. I am on do not disturb, but we went past noon, so. There we go.
The wonders of technology. It never works when you want it to. At that time, it was the 15 was the one that provided the direct service. Because if you're coming from downtown from Wall Street, that's a long ride, and that's a seat taken on that bus. And now someone on Mission Street, now that's full. So there was always that capacity, and that's the goal of 16, is to provide that direct connection, the commuter route between those high ridership Laurel Street stops like Laurel and Blackburn, Laurel and Center, to the UCSC campus to alleviate crowding from the 18. And so, without the 16 running, we're seeing pass-bys, we're seeing horrendous bunching. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Additional public comment in the rooms? None.
Once again, really good last time today. I just wanted to thank you, Corey. I really appreciate that you mentioned that you're going to draft just a statement on this. That's really appreciated. I feel like especially as you're newer to the role, a lot of people will find trust in you to just being transparent about the whole situation. But I did want to state, so I actually did get a physical copy of the headways. It was on either the 3B or the 3A, and it was the afternoon of when Metro did the like food drive at Woodstocks. So I don't remember the exact date that was, but it was during the afternoon of that. And another friend definitely also has a physical copy of the headways that was canceled, and I think they picked it up on the 18. So that's what really got us thinking about this, and at least for myself too, just since that 90X route was canceled when I was trying to take it, as well as any trips after it. That kind of just got me thinking that there was something going on. So yeah, that's really what made, at least for myself, come out here today, and just glad with the outcome to see that you guys are willing to be transparent. But this Corey, you as the CEO of the board of directors as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Any further comments? Oh, yes.
I remember the rest of what I was going to say. So as a bus operator, I do a lot of customer service, and I often have questions from the public, from passengers about like, oh, my app is saying that this bus should be here, et cetera, et cetera. And I usually ask them, which app are you using? And the common answer is Google Maps. So I think that there's a good number of people that don't even know that they can use a direct Metro application. And then as well, how to use it. I think I submitted an employee recommendation sheet talking about it. But yeah, I think that's a really important aspect of this issue is people who are waiting for a bus, people who don't know a route is canceled, et cetera, et cetera. If they knew they could just look on their phone, they would, I think. And the fact that people are defaulting to Google, like, while it's convenient, like, I think that shows that people could be better informed.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no further comments in the room, we'll go to any public comment online.
Hello, thank you again for the opportunity to comment. Thank you, Elizabeth, for letting me know that there was another opportunity to comment here. I wanted to clarify, I do have a physical copy of the headways. I got it at about 5 p.m. on the 18 on December 12th. It was in the place the headways normally are on that bus, and I grabbed it because I was excited to see the new schedule. And I only found out that that was recalled when I was checking the website, and I had noticed that the headways was gone from there. And then when I saw the new one was published, all those changes were different. I was particularly excited to see the 17 being fixed in Google Maps so that people could actually see that they could take the 17 and theoretically connect to Caltrain. So anyway, I just want to clarify that there were physical headways there. I have one. I will happily show it to you if you want it, but those were in the wild. And also I'd like to say thank you for the commitment to issue a statement about this. I think people really want Metro to be better. And I think having that clear communication saying, hey, here's what's wrong, here's what we're going to do to make it better, will reinstill some trust that has been lost over the past few years. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Any other online comments? Okay, seeing none, yes.
I just want to thank all the people who testified, both online and in person. I think the testimony was respectful and important. And so I appreciate people stepping forward. We don't know what's going on if the public don't talk to us about what their experience is. So thank all of you for doing so.
Any further comments from the board? Okay, seeing none, that will bring us then to moving on to our closed session, excuse me. We have a conference with legal counsel and liability claims. Any other things we need to share before we go?
No, okay, public comment.
Oh, public comment. Any public comment on our closed session? Seeing none in the room, any online? No, okay. With that, we will recess to closed session. Thank you so much, everyone.